The origins of the Etruscan people have puzzled historians for centuries. Ancient writers debated their beginnings even then. Herodotus claimed they came from Lydia in Asia Minor. Dionysius of Halicarnassus insisted they were indigenous to Italy. Modern DNA analysis suggests the truth lies somewhere between these ancient theories. What we know with certainty is that around 900 before the Common Era, the Villanovan culture began transforming. Small farming villages in what is now Tuscany, Umbria, and Lazio started growing. They developed new burial practices. They created distinctive pottery. They worked bronze with increasing skill. The land itself shaped their emergence. Central Italy offered fertile valleys between protective hills. Rivers like the Tiber and Arno provided water and transportation routes. The region held rich deposits of copper and iron. Dense forests supplied timber for ships and buildings. The western coast opened to the Mediterranean Sea. These early Etruscans didn't appear suddenly. They evolved from the people already living there. The Villanovan culture, named after a site near Bologna, had existed since around 1100 before the Common Era. These people cremated their dead. They placed the ashes in distinctive conical urns. They lived in simple huts with thatched roofs. But something changed around 800 before the Common Era. Contact with Greek traders brought new ideas. Phoenician merchants introduced different technologies. Local innovations emerged. The simple Villanovan settlements began their transformation into Etruscan cities. The archaeological evidence shows this gradual change clearly. Burial practices shifted from cremation to inhumation. Simple biconical urns gave way to elaborate sarcophagi. Modest grave goods became rich collections of jewellery, weapons, and imported luxuries. Small villages grew into planned urban centres. The geography of Etruria shaped its development profoundly. The region stretched from the Arno River in the north to the Tiber River in the south. The Apennine Mountains formed its eastern boundary. The Tyrrhenian Sea defined its western edge. Within these borders lay a landscape of remarkable diversity. Coastal plains provided space for agriculture and cities. Rolling hills offered defensive positions and pasture land. Mountain slopes held forests and mineral wealth. Rivers connected inland settlements to the sea. Natural harbours facilitated maritime trade. Hot springs and volcanic lakes added to the region's resources. The Etruscans divided their territory into 12 main regions. Each developed its own character. Northern areas like Volterra specialized in metalworking. Coastal cities like Cerveteri became maritime powers. Inland centres like Chiusi focused on agriculture. Southern settlements like Veii controlled river crossings. Climate played its role too. Mild winters and warm summers suited Mediterranean agriculture. Seasonal rains supported crops without flooding. Sea breezes moderated summer heat. Mountain snow provided water through dry months. This favourable environment supported population growth and urban development. The earliest Etruscan settlements followed natural patterns. They chose hilltops for defence. They built near water sources. They selected sites controlling trade routes. They established ports at river mouths. These choices reflected both practical needs and religious beliefs. Archaeological excavations reveal how these early communities lived. Houses evolved from simple huts to substantial structures. Circular dwellings became rectangular buildings. Wattle and daub construction gave way to stone foundations. Thatched roofs were replaced by terracotta tiles. The transformation accelerated during the 8th century before the Common Era. Population increased significantly. Trade networks expanded dramatically. Social stratification became more pronounced. Political organization grew more complex. Religious practices became more elaborate. Foreign influences played crucial roles in this development. Greek colonists established settlements in southern Italy. They brought new artistic styles. They introduced different political concepts. They shared technological innovations. They opened new trade possibilities. Phoenician traders also left their mark. They introduced the alphabet that Etruscans would adapt. They brought luxury goods from the eastern Mediterranean. They shared metalworking techniques. They connected Etruria to wider trade networks. But the Etruscans weren't passive recipients of foreign influence. They selected what suited them. They adapted imports to local tastes. They developed their own innovations. They created a unique synthesis of indigenous and foreign elements. The archaeological record shows this creative adaptation clearly. Etruscan pottery combined Greek shapes with local decorative styles. Their architecture blended Eastern influences with Italian traditions. Their art merged various inspirations into something distinctly Etruscan. Their religion incorporated foreign deities while maintaining local practices. By 700 before the Common Era, distinct Etruscan cities had emerged. Tarquinia dominated the central coast. Cerveteri controlled the southern shores. Veii commanded the lower Tiber Valley. Vulci prospered through metalworking. Vetulonia grew wealthy from mining. Each city developed independently yet shared common culture. They spoke the same language. They worshipped similar gods. They followed comparable customs. They recognized shared identity. Yet they also competed fiercely for resources and influence. The emergence of these city-states marked a crucial transition. Simple agricultural communities became complex urban societies. Tribal organizations evolved into sophisticated governments. Local economies expanded into international trade networks. Regional cultures developed into a major Mediterranean civilization. Evidence of this transformation appears throughout Etruria. Monumental tombs replaced simple burials. Planned streets superseded organic growth. Public buildings arose alongside private houses. Defensive walls enclosed expanding settlements. Ports and roads connected previously isolated communities. The speed of this development was remarkable. Within 2 centuries, the Etruscans created one of the most advanced civilizations in the Mediterranean. They developed sophisticated metallurgy. They built impressive architecture. They created beautiful art. They established extensive trade networks. They influenced neighboring cultures profoundly. Natural resources fueled this rapid growth. Etruscan territory contained abundant metal deposits. The Collin Metallifer, the metal-bearing hills, held copper, iron, lead, and tin. Elba Island provided high-quality iron ore. These resources made Etruria wealthy and powerful. Agriculture also prospered in the fertile landscape. Etruscans grew wheat, barley, and millet. They cultivated grapes for wine production. They raised olives for oil. They kept cattle, sheep, and pigs. They hunted wild boar and deer in extensive forests. The sea provided additional resources. Etruscans fished the coastal waters. They harvested salt from coastal lagoons. They gathered murex shells for purple dye. They controlled maritime trade routes. They became skilled sailors and shipbuilders. This combination of resources, location, and cultural development positioned the Etruscans perfectly. They stood between the Greek world and the Celtic lands. They connected the eastern and western Mediterranean. They bridged different cultural traditions. They became essential intermediaries in ancient trade and cultural exchange. The foundation period also established patterns that would define Etruscan civilization. Cities remained politically independent while sharing cultural identity. Trade and commerce received high priority. Religious practices permeated daily life. Aristocratic families dominated society. Women enjoyed unusual freedom and status. These early centuries saw the creation of distinctly Etruscan innovations. They developed a unique architectural style using the arch and vault. They perfected techniques for draining marshes and controlling water. They created distinctive artistic traditions in sculpture and painting. They established religious practices that would influence Rome profoundly. The transformation from Villanovan to Etruscan culture wasn't sudden or uniform. Different regions changed at different rates. Some areas maintained older traditions longer. Others embraced innovations quickly. This diversity within unity became a defining characteristic of Etruscan civilization. By 600 before the Common Era, the Etruscan cities had reached their first peak. They controlled much of central Italy. Their influence extended far beyond their borders. Their culture impressed even the Greeks. Their power worried their neighbours. They stood poised to shape the future of Italy and the Mediterranean world. The Etruscan civilization organized itself around 12 principal cities. These formed a loose confederation known as the Dodecapolis. Ancient sources mention this league frequently, though they don't always agree on which cities belonged. The concept of 12 held deep religious significance for the Etruscans. The most prominent cities included Veii, Cerveteri, Tarquinia, Vulci, Vetulonia, Populonia, Volterra, Chiusi, Perugia, Cortona, Arezzo, and Fiesole. Some lists substitute Rucellai or other centres. The exact membership probably changed over time. What remained constant was the idea of 12 allied yet independent city-states. Each city controlled surrounding territory called its ager. This included smaller towns, villages, and agricultural land. The city functioned as the political, religious, and economic centre. The countryside provided food, raw materials, and manpower. This relationship between urban centre and rural hinterland defined Etruscan political organisation. Veii stood closest to Rome, only 10 miles north of the future capital. The city occupied a naturally fortified plateau surrounded by steep cliffs. 2 streams, the Cremera and the Valcetta, provided additional protection. The site controlled the lowest crossing point of the Tiber River. Veii's prosperity came from multiple sources. Rich agricultural land surrounded the city. Local workshops produced fine pottery and metalwork. The city controlled important trade routes. Salt beds near the Tiber mouth added to its wealth. By 600 before the Common Era, Veii rivaled any city in central Italy. The city's power extended far beyond its walls. Veii controlled a network of smaller settlements. It maintained fortified outposts along its borders. It influenced communities throughout the lower Tiber Valley. Its territory bordered several other Etruscan cities, sometimes causing friction. Archaeological excavations reveal Veii's impressive scale. The city walls enclosed nearly 500 acres. Public buildings included temples, administrative structures, and gathering spaces. Private houses range from modest dwellings to elaborate mansions, and sophisticated water management systems supplied the population. Cerveteri, known to Etruscans as Sisra or Caer, dominated the southern coastal region. The city occupied a tufa plateau about 4 miles from the sea. 3 ports served its maritime trade. The surrounding territory included fertile farmland and metal deposits. Cerveteri became one of the wealthiest Etruscan cities. Its tombs contain spectacular treasures. Greek and Phoenician imports appear frequently. Local workshops produced distinctive pottery and metalwork. The city's merchants traded throughout the Mediterranean. The city maintained special relationships with other powers. Cerveteri established close ties with Carthage. It enjoyed friendly relations with many Greek cities. It later received Roman citizenship without voting rights, a unique privilege. These diplomatic connections enhanced its commercial success. The famous Regalini Galassi tomb illustrates Cerveteri's early wealth. Dating to around 650 before the Common Era, it contained extraordinary treasures. Gold jewellery of incredible workmanship, silver vessels of elegant design, bronze objects of practical and ceremonial use, imported goods from across the Mediterranean. Tarquinia claimed precedence among Etruscan cities. Ancient traditions named it the birthplace of Etruscan culture. The mythical founder Tarchon supposedly established it. The city's name appeared in various forms: Tarquini, Tarchuna, or Tarchna. The city occupied a long plateau overlooking the coastal plain. The Marta River provided water and transportation. The port of Gravisca connected Tarquinia to maritime trade. Surrounding hills contained metal deposits. Agricultural land stretched to the horizon. Tarquinia's tombs preserve the finest Etruscan paintings. Hundreds of decorated chambers survive. They depict banquets, games, hunts, and religious ceremonies. These paintings provide invaluable insights into Etruscan life. They show clothing, customs, and beliefs in vivid detail. The city played a leading role in Etruscan politics. Tarquinian aristocrats provided kings for Rome. The city often led resistance against Roman expansion. Its priests maintained important religious traditions. Its influence extended throughout Etruria. Vulci controlled the valley of the Fiora River. The city specialized in bronze working. Its workshops produced mirrors, vessels, and sculptures of exceptional quality. These products spread throughout the Mediterranean. Vulci bronzes appear in tombs from Spain to the Black Sea. The city's location facilitated both land and sea trade. Roads connected Vulci to other Etruscan centres. The port of Regius Vila served maritime commerce. The Fiora River provided transportation inland. This strategic position brought great prosperity. Archaeological evidence reveals Vulci's extensive trade networks. Greek pottery dominates early tomb contents. Later periods show increased local production. The famous Francois tomb contained both imported luxuries and local masterpieces. This combination characterizes Vulci's economic strategy. Vetulonia rose to prominence through mining wealth. The city controlled rich metal deposits in the Colline Metallifer. Copper, iron, lead, and silver enriched its citizens. The city's coins, among the earliest in Etruria, attest to this wealth. The city occupied a hilltop overlooking the Grosseto plain. In ancient times, the Prial Lake provided a natural harbour. This combination of mineral wealth and maritime access created ideal conditions for prosperity. Vetulonia became one of the most powerful early Etruscan cities. Excavations reveal the city's golden age during the 7th century before the Common Era. Monumental tombs contained extraordinary treasures. The Tomba del Duce yielded fascinating military equipment. The Tomba della Pietrera produced elegant gold work. These finds demonstrate Vetulonia's early importance. Populonia stood unique among major Etruscan cities. It alone occupied a coastal site rather than an inland hilltop. The city overlooked the Bay of Barati. Elba Island, with its iron deposits, lay visible across the water. Iron processing defined Populonia's economy. The city imported ore from Elba. Its furnaces produced iron and steel. Slag heaps eventually covered earlier tombs. This industrial activity generated enormous wealth, but also transformed the landscape. The city's maritime focus shaped its development differently. Populonia looked outward to the sea. It maintained close ties with Corsica and Sardinia. It traded with Greeks, Phoenicians, and Carthaginians. This cosmopolitan character distinguished it from inland cities. Volterra, the Etruscan Velathri, commanded the Cesena Valley. The city occupied a steep hilltop with spectacular views. Its elevation provided defence and climate advantages. The surrounding territory contained diverse resources. Volterra became famous for alabaster working. Local deposits of this soft stone supplied raw material. Skilled craftsmen created urns, sculptures, and decorative objects. These products found markets throughout Etruria and beyond. The tradition continues today. The city controlled important trade routes. Roads connected the coast to the interior through Volterra's territory. The city profited from this commercial traffic. It also exploited local copper deposits. Agriculture in the valley supplemented these resources. Volterra's walls represent Etruscan engineering at its finest. Parts date to the 4th century before the Common Era. They enclosed a vast area, much larger than the inhabited city. The famous Porta all'Arco, with its carved heads, still stands today. Chiusi, ancient Clevsin or Kamars, dominated the inland Valdiciana. The city's territory included some of Etruria's richest agricultural land. This fertile region produced abundant grain. It supported a large population. It generated substantial wealth through farming. The legendary King Porsenna ruled Chiusi around 500 before the Common Era. Ancient sources describe his power and wealth in superlative terms. He supposedly besieged Rome after the expulsion of Tarquinian kings. His tomb, according to ancient descriptions, was an architectural marvel. Chiusi developed distinctive artistic traditions. Its cinerary urns feature unique decorative styles. Canopic jars with human features characterize early production. Later sculptures show strong local characteristics. These artistic traditions reflect Chiusi's cultural independence. The city's location facilitated connections with Umbrian and Latin peoples. Chiusi served as a cultural bridge between different Italian populations. It absorbed influences from various sources. It transmitted Etruscan culture to neighbouring regions. Perugia, the Etruscan Perugia, controlled the upper Tiber Valley. The city occupied a commanding hilltop position. It overlooked important communication routes. The location provided both defensive advantages and commercial opportunities. The city developed later than coastal centres. Perugia reached prominence during the 4th century before the Common Era. It became one of the most powerful inland cities. Its influence extended into Umbrian territory. The city maintained its importance into Roman times. Perugia's walls and gates showcase Etruscan architecture. The Porta Marcia displays elaborate decoration. The Arch of Augustus incorporates Etruscan elements. These monuments demonstrate the city's wealth and sophistication. They also show architectural evolution over centuries. The city produced distinctive artistic works. The tomb of the Volumni family preserves elaborate decorations. Numerous cinerary urns display local sculptural styles. These works reveal Perugia's cultural traditions and social structures. Cortona claimed great antiquity among Etruscan cities. Local traditions asserted connections with mythical founders. The city occupied a strategic hilltop overlooking the Val di Chiana. Its territory bordered both Etruscan and Umbrian lands. Archaeological evidence confirms Cortona's early importance. Impressive walls enclosed the ancient city. Monumental tombs dotted the surrounding countryside. The famous bronze lamp now in Cortona's museum demonstrates local metalworking skills. The city maintained strong cultural traditions. Local aristocratic families preserved Etruscan customs longer than many places. Religious practices continued into Roman times. The Tabula Cortonensis, a bronze inscription, provides valuable linguistic evidence. Arezzo, ancient Arretium, occupied the upper Arno Valley. The city's location controlled routes between Etruria and the Po Valley. This strategic position brought commercial advantages. It also exposed Arezzo to influences from northern Italy. The city became famous for pottery production. Aretine ware, a fine red pottery, achieved wide distribution. These ceramics competed with imported Greek vessels. Later production supplied Roman markets. This industrial activity generated substantial wealth. Arezzo's bronze working also achieved renown. The famous Chimera of Arezzo represents Etruscan bronze sculpture at its finest. The city's workshops produced mirrors, vessels, and sculptures. These products demonstrate sophisticated metalworking techniques. Fiesole overlooked the site where Florence would later rise. The city controlled the Middle Arno Valley. Its elevated position provided defense and climate advantages. The surrounding territory included fertile agricultural land. The city developed strong fortifications. Massive walls enclosed the hilltop settlement. These defences proved their worth during later conflicts. Fiesole resisted Roman expansion longer than many Etruscan cities. Its strategic importance continued into medieval times. Archaeological remains reveal Fiesole's urban development. A theatre and temple complex occupied prominent positions. Houses terraced down the hillsides. Roads connected different city quarters. This planning demonstrates sophisticated urban design. Beyond these 12 principal cities, numerous smaller centres flourished. Orvieto, ancient Volsini, commanded a spectacular cliff-top position. Sovana controlled southern inland territory. Roselle dominated the lower Ombrone Valley. Each contributed to Etruscan civilization's richness. The relationship between these cities defied simple categorization. They shared language, religion, and culture. They recognized common identity as Etruscans. They gathered for religious festivals. They sometimes cooperated against external threats. Yet each city remained fiercely independent. No single city dominated the others permanently. They competed economically and sometimes fought wars. Alliances shifted according to circumstances. This balance between unity and independence characterized Etruscan politics. The League of 12 Cities met annually at the Fanum Voltumnae. This federal sanctuary's location remains uncertain, possibly near Orvieto. Representatives discussed common concerns. They elected a federal magistrate. They celebrated religious rituals together. However, this confederation lacked strong central authority. Decisions required consensus, difficult to achieve among independent cities. Military cooperation remained voluntary and often ineffective. Economic competition prevented unified policies. These weaknesses would prove fatal when facing Roman expansion. Each city developed its own government structure. Early periods saw monarchical rule. Kings, called lucumones, governed with aristocratic councils. These rulers combined political, military, and religious authority. They displayed their power through elaborate regalia and ceremonies. Over time, most cities transitioned to oligarchic republics. Aristocratic families shared power through rotating magistraries. The zealath represented the highest office, similar to Roman consuls. Other officials handled specific administrative, religious, and military functions. Social structure varied between cities but followed general patterns. The aristocracy dominated political and economic life. They owned large estates. They controlled trade networks. They monopolized religious offices. They displayed wealth through elaborate tombs and luxury goods. Below the aristocracy, free citizens engaged in various occupations. Craftsmen produced goods in urban workshops. Merchants facilitated trade. Farmers worked smaller holdings. Soldiers served in city militias. These middle classes left fewer archaeological traces but formed society's backbone. The lowest social levels included dependents and slaves. Clients attached themselves to aristocratic patrons. Agricultural workers laboured on large estates. Domestic servants attended wealthy households. War captives and debt slaves occupied the bottom rungs. Each city developed distinctive characteristics while sharing common culture. Architectural styles showed local variations. Artistic traditions reflected regional preferences. Religious practices emphasized different deities. Burial customs followed local patterns. These variations enriched Etruscan civilization. The city's economic strategies differed according to resources and location. Coastal cities emphasized maritime trade. Inland centers focused on agriculture. Mining towns exploited mineral wealth. Manufacturing centers developed craft specializations. This economic diversity strengthened Etruscan civilization overall. Religion permeated every aspect of Etruscan life. The Etruscans believed gods actively intervened in human affairs. Divine will shaped events large and small. Understanding and influencing this will became paramount. Religious practices guided personal decisions and state policies alike. The Etruscan pantheon included numerous deities. Many corresponded to Greek and Roman gods but retained distinct characteristics. Tenia ruled as king of the gods, similar to Zeus or Jupiter. Uni, his consort, resembled Hera or Juno. Menva, goddess of wisdom and war, paralleled Athena or Minerva. But Etruscan deities possessed unique attributes. Tenia hurled 3 types of thunderbolts, each with different significance. He required permission from other gods for the most destructive bolts. This limitation on supreme power reflected Etruscan political concepts of shared authority. Uni received special veneration in many cities. At Veii, her temple ranked among Etruria's most important sanctuaries. The Romans later transported her cult statue to Rome. This ritual transfer, called evocatio, demonstrates the goddess's perceived power. Minerva belonged to a divine triad with Tenia and Uni. These 3 deities often shared temples. Their grouped worship influenced Roman religion profoundly. The Capitoline triad of Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva derived from Etruscan precedent. Nethans governed the sea. resembling Poseidon or Neptune. Term served as divine messenger, like Hermes or Mercury. Aita ruled the underworld, corresponding to Hades or Pluto. Thersiphnae, his queen, paralleled Persephone or Proserpina. Distinctive Etruscan deities had no clear Greek or Roman equivalents. Voltumna served as principal god of the Etruscan Federation. Vertumnus presided over seasons and change. Nordia, goddess of fate, received annual nail-driving ceremonies. Selvans protected boundaries and wild places. Fuflans, god of vegetation and wine, resembled Dionysus but maintained unique aspects. His worship included ecstatic elements. Mystery cults surrounded his rituals. His popularity crossed social boundaries. Common people especially revered him. Turan governed love and beauty, similar to Aphrodite or Venus. Her worship emphasized fertility and regeneration. Sacred prostitution possibly featured in her cults. She appeared frequently in mirror engravings and tomb paintings. Laran presided over war, paralleling Oros or Mars. But Etruscan warfare involved religious sanction more than Greek practice. Military campaigns required divine approval. Victory demonstrated divine favor. Defeat indicated religious failure. The Etruscan underworld contained numerous divine figures. Charun, the death demon, guided souls to the afterlife. His appearance combined human and bestial features. He carried a hammer to dispatch the dying. His image decorated many tomb entrances. Vanth, a female death spirit, also conducted souls. She appeared as a winged woman carrying scrolls or torches. Unlike fearsome Charun, she seemed benevolent. Her presence comforted the deceased. She ensured safe passage to the afterlife. The Etruscans believed in a complex afterlife. The dead journeyed to an underworld realm. There they continued existence in shadowy form. Proper burial and offerings ensured comfortable afterlife conditions. Neglect condemned souls to restless wandering. Tomb paintings depict afterlife banquets. The deceased recline on couches. They enjoy food, wine, and entertainment. Musicians play, dancers perform, servants attend. These scenes suggest continuation of earthly pleasures, but darker visions also appear. Some tombs show demons tormenting souls. Underworld judges evaluate the deceased. Punishments await the wicked. Rewards come to the virtuous. This moral dimension influenced later Roman concepts. Divination formed the cornerstone of Etruscan religion. The Disciplina Etrusca codified divination practices. Romans considered Etruscans supreme masters of reading divine signs. They consulted Etruscan haruspices for critical decisions. Haruspice involved examining sacrificed animals' entrails. The liver received particular attention. Bronze liver models served as teaching tools. The Piacenza liver, divided into regions with deities' names, survives today. Each section corresponded to cosmic divisions. Practitioners required extensive training. They memorized complex interpretative rules. They understood anatomical variation significance. They correlated earthly signs with celestial phenomena. This knowledge passed through priestly families. Augury involved observing birds' flight patterns. Etruscan augurs divided the sky into 16 regions. Birds appearing in different sectors carried distinct meanings. Their species, number, and behavior provided additional information. This practice profoundly influenced Roman augury. Lightning interpretation formed another specialty. Etruscans identified 9 gods who hurled thunderbolts. Each deity's bolts carried different messages. The strike location, timing, and effects required analysis. Elaborate rituals might appease angry gods or exploit favorable signs. Prodigies, unusual events, demanded religious attention. Monstrous births, strange weather, or unusual animal behavior signaled divine displeasure. Priests consulted sacred books to determine appropriate responses. Elaborate ceremonies restored cosmic harmony. The Etruscans maintained several categories of sacred books. The Libri Haruspicini explained divination through entrails. The Libri Fulguralis interpreted lightning. The Libri Rituales described religious ceremonies. These texts, now lost, guided religious practice. Sacred boundaries divided Etruscan space. The templum represented consecrated area for observation. The mundus connected earthly and underworld realms. The pomerium defined sacred city limits. Crossing these boundaries required ritual precautions. Temple architecture reflected religious concepts. Etruscan temples differed markedly from Greek models. They stood on high platforms called podia. Steep stairs led to the entrance. Deep porches sheltered cult activities. The temple plan typically featured 3 chambers or 1 chamber with side wings. This tripartite division honoured grouped deities. Terracotta decorations covered wooden structures. Colourful sculptures crowned roof peaks. These buildings impressed through height and ornamentation. Religious festivals punctuated the Etruscan calendar. Annual gatherings at the Fanum Voltumnae united the 12 cities. Local festivals honoured particular deities. Agricultural ceremonies marked seasonal transitions. Private rituals celebrated family occasions. Games accompanied religious festivals. Chariot races honoured the gods. Athletic competitions demonstrated physical prowess. Gladiatorial combats possibly originated in Etruscan funeral rites. These spectacles combined entertainment with religious observance. Music played essential religious roles. Flute players accompanied sacrifices. Their melodies pleased deities. Wrong notes could invalidate rituals. Trumpet calls marked ceremony stages. Dancing expressed religious ecstasy. Priests formed a distinct social class. Different categories served various functions. The Zilath Mekel Rasnal led federal religious ceremonies. City priests conducted local rituals. Family priests maintained ancestor cults. Specialized practitioners performed divination. Priesthoods often remained within families. Knowledge passed from generation to generation. This hereditary principle preserved traditions. It also concentrated religious power among aristocrats. Priestly families wielded considerable influence. Women participated actively in Etruscan religion. Priestesses served various deities. They performed important rituals. They interpreted divine signs. This religious authority enhanced women's social status. It distinguished Etruscan from Greek practice. Votive offerings filled Etruscan sanctuaries. Terracotta body parts sought healing. Bronze figurines requested divine favour. Ceramic vessels contained food offerings. Weapons thanked gods for victory. These objects reveal personal religious practices. Anatomical votives provide medical insights. Models of heads, hands, feet, and internal organs survive. These indicate which ailments concerned Etruscans. They suggest therapeutic shrine visits. They demonstrate belief in divine healing. Foundation rituals consecrated new buildings. Deposits beneath structures included miniature objects, food remains, and sacrificed animals. These offerings ensured divine protection. They established sacred boundaries. They connected buildings to cosmic order. Curse tablets revealed darker religious practices. Lead sheets inscribed with curses targeted enemies. These tablets were buried in graves or sanctuaries. They invoked underworld deities for vengeance. They demonstrate belief in magical intervention. Mystery religions offered initiates special knowledge. Secret rites promised privileged afterlife status. Dionysian cults featured prominently. Orphic influences appeared. These esoteric traditions supplemented public religion. The Etruscans strongly influenced Roman religion. Romans adopted Etruscan divination wholesale. They imported Etruscan deities. They copied temple designs. They borrowed ritual practices. This religious legacy outlasted Etruscan political independence. Burial customs reflected religious beliefs profoundly. The Etruscans lavished extraordinary attention on their dead. Tombs replicated houses. Grave goods equipped the deceased for afterlife needs. Elaborate ceremonies ensured successful transition. Early Etruscans practiced cremation predominantly. They placed ashes in distinctive urns. Biconical vessels characterized the Villanovan period. Later urns took house or human forms. This practice gradually gave way to inhumation. By the 7th century before the Common Era, elite burials became increasingly elaborate. Rock-cut tombs housed multiple family members. Painted decorations covered walls. Stone furniture replicated domestic settings. These tombs served as eternal homes. The Banditaccia necropolis at Cerveteri exemplifies Etruscan cemetery planning. Streets organized tomb clusters. Different sectors served various periods. Family plots maintained proximity. This organization mirrored city layouts. Tomb types varied by region and period. Tumuli, circular mounds, dominated at Cerveteri. Cube tombs characterized later periods. Tarquinia featured underground painted chambers. Volterra produced thousands of alabaster urns. Grave goods reveal social status and beliefs. Aristocratic tombs contained imported luxuries. Warriors received weapons and armor. Women possessed jewelry and mirrors. Children had toys and feeding bottles. These objects equipped the dead for eternity. Banquet equipment appeared frequently. Bronze vessels held wine. Ceramic services provided food. Furniture supported reclining diners. These items enabled afterlife feasting. They reflected life's pleasures continuing beyond death. Sarcophagi evolved into elaborate artworks. Early examples featured reclining figures on lids. Couples appeared together, demonstrating marital affection. Later sarcophagi depicted mythological scenes. These narratives possibly conveyed afterlife hopes. Tomb paintings preserve invaluable religious information. Tarquinia's decorated tombs span several centuries. Early paintings show joyful banquets and games. Later works depict somber underworld scenes. This evolution reflects changing religious concepts. The Tomb of the Augurs shows funeral games. Wrestlers compete. Masked figures perform. Musicians play. These activities honor the deceased. They also entertain afterlife inhabitants. The Tomb of the Leopards depicts an eternal banquet. Couples recline on couches. Servants pour wine. Musicians provide entertainment. Leopards symbolize Dionysian associations. The scene radiates joy and abundance. The Tomb of Orcus presents darker visions. Hades and Persephone preside over the underworld. Demons threaten souls. The atmosphere conveys anxiety about death. These images reflect later pessimistic attitudes. Etruscan art displayed remarkable vitality and originality. Artists worked in diverse media with exceptional skill. They created sculptures in bronze, terracotta, and stone. They painted tomb walls with vibrant frescoes. They produced elegant pottery and metalwork. Their works combined local traditions with foreign influences into something uniquely Etruscan. Bronze working represented Etruscan craftsmanship at its finest. The Etruscans mastered complex casting techniques early. They produced large-scale sculptures using the lost wax method. They created intricate small objects through repousse and engraving. Their bronze products achieved fame throughout the ancient world. The Chimera of Arezzo exemplifies Etruscan bronze mastery. This 5th century sculpture depicts a mythical creature with lion's body, goat's head, and serpent tail. The beast crouches in wounded fury. Every muscle shows tension. Each scale and hair appears distinct. The work demonstrates technical perfection and emotional power. The Capitoline wolf possibly represents Etruscan work. This iconic bronze shows a she-wolf with alert expression and tense posture. The sculpture's dating remains controversial. Some scholars place it in antiquity. Others suggest medieval creation. Regardless, it embodies Etruscan artistic traditions. Bronze mirrors formed a distinctive Etruscan art form. Thousands survive in museums worldwide. These mirrors feature polished surfaces on one side. The reverse bears engraved scenes. Mythological narratives predominate. Daily life scenes also appear. Mirror engravings reveal artistic evolution. Early examples show simple geometric patterns. Classical period mirrors display complex mythological scenes. Hellenistic examples feature elaborate compositions. The engravings demonstrate drawing skills and narrative abilities. Etruscan bronze vessels combined functionality with beauty. Ceremonial cauldrons featured elaborate decorations. Incense burners took fantastic forms. Candelabra supported multiple lamps. These objects served religious and domestic purposes while displaying wealth. The Ficcaroni Sister represents bronze container artistry. This 4th century cylindrical box stored toiletries. Engraved scenes depict the Argonauts' adventures. Cast figures form the lid handle. Cast feet support the container. Every surface shows meticulous craftsmanship. Terracotta sculpture played crucial architectural and artistic roles. Etruscans perfected techniques for modelling and firing clay. They created life-size statues. They produced architectural decorations. They manufactured sarcophagi and urns. This versatile medium suited various purposes. Temple decorations showcased terracotta artistry. Antefixes masked roof tile ends. Acroteria crowned roof peaks. Revetment plaques covered wooden beams. These elements combined protection with ornamentation. They transformed temples into colourful monuments. The Apollo of Veii demonstrates terracotta sculpture's possibilities. This late 6th century statue decorated Veii's Portinaccio temple. The god strides forward dynamically. His archaic smile radiates confidence. Painted details enhance the figure's impact. The work rivals contemporary Greek sculpture. Sarcophagus sculptures reveal Etruscan attitudes toward death and marriage. The sarcophagus of the spouses from Cerveteri shows a couple reclining together. They share a banquet couch. Their poses suggest intimate conversation. Their expressions convey contentment. This tender portrayal celebrates eternal companionship. Stone sculpture appeared less frequently but achieved high quality. Local stones like nenfro and alabaster provided materials. Limestone and marble occasionally appeared. Sculptors created tomb markers, architectural elements, and statuary. These works demonstrate mastery of challenging media. Etruscan painting survives primarily in tombs. Hundreds of decorated chambers preserve these artworks. The paintings provide invaluable cultural information. They depict clothing, customs, and beliefs. They reveal artistic techniques and stylistic evolution. Painting techniques evolved over centuries. Early works use simple outlines with flat colours. Classical period paintings show modelling and shading. Later works demonstrate perspective attempts. Colours remain bright and varied throughout. The Tomb of the Bulls at Tarquinia contains early paintings. Dating around 540 before the Common Era, it shows mythological and erotic scenes. Achilles ambushes Troilus. Bulls and horsemen appear. The style combines Greek influence with local traditions. The Tomb of the Leopards presents classical period painting. Created around 480 before the Common Era, it depicts a symposium. Banqueters recline beneath garlands. Musicians and dancers perform. Trees frame the scenes. The composition achieves harmony and movement. The Tomb of the Shields shows later painting styles. Dating to the 3rd century before the Common Era, it portrays the Velcher family. Portraits attempt individual characterization. Inscriptions identify figures. The style shows Hellenistic influence while maintaining Etruscan elements. Pottery production demonstrated technical innovation and artistic creativity. Etruscan potters mastered various techniques. They produced distinctive black bucero ware. They created painted vessels imitating Greek styles. They developed unique forms for local preferences. Bucero represents purely Etruscan ceramic tradition. This black pottery emerged around 650 before the Common Era. The fabric's colour resulted from firing techniques creating carbon saturation. Early bucero featured thin walls and metallic appearance. Later examples became heavier with elaborate decorations. Bucero vessels took varied forms. Chalices, jugs, and plates served dining needs. Elaborate stands supported containers. Fantastic shapes included animal forms. Decoration ranged from simple incisions to complex reliefs. These ceramics achieved wide distribution. Etruscan painted pottery initially imitated Greek imports. Local workshops produced black figure vessels. They copied shapes and decorative schemes. They adapted mythological scenes. Quality varied from excellent to mediocre. This production satisfied local demand for Greek-style ceramics. Red figure technique arrived later. Etruscan painters adopted this Greek innovation. They created original compositions alongside copies. Local myths appeared beside Greek stories. The Judgment of Paris remained popular. Hercules' labours frequently appeared. Architectural achievements demonstrated engineering skills and aesthetic sensibilities. Etruscans introduced the true arch to Italian architecture. They developed sophisticated drainage systems. They planned cities with regular streets. They built impressive fortifications. These innovations influenced Roman engineering profoundly. City planning reflected both practical and religious considerations. Streets followed cardinal directions when possible. Sacred boundaries defined districts. Public spaces served civic and religious functions. Defensive walls enclosed urban areas. This organization created functional and meaningful spaces. Marzabotto near Bologna preserves Etruscan urban planning. Founded around 500 before the Common Era, the city shows regular layout. Wide main streets run north-south and east-west. Narrower streets create rectangular blocks. Houses follow standardized plans. This rationalized design demonstrates sophisticated planning. Domestic architecture evolved from simple to complex forms. Early houses featured 1 or 2 rooms. Classical period dwellings included multiple rooms around courtyards. Wealthy homes possessed gardens and decorations. These residences reflected social stratification and increasing prosperity. The house of the impluvium at Roselle shows domestic sophistication. Dating to the 6th century before the Common Era, it features a central courtyard. Rooms surround this space. A cistern collected rainwater. Decorative elements enhanced appearance. This design influenced Roman house plans. Fortification walls protected Etruscan cities impressively. Massive stone blocks formed foundations. Mud brick or smaller stones completed upper sections. Gates featured arched passages. Towers provided defensive positions. These fortifications required enormous resources and organization. Volterra's walls demonstrate defensive architecture. Built during the 4th century before the Common Era, they enclosed vast area. The Porta al Arco survives intact. 3 carved heads, possibly protective deities, decorate the arch. The structure combines functionality with symbolism. Hydraulic engineering solved water management challenges. Etruscans drained marshes for agriculture. They channeled streams through tunnels. They constructed aqueducts and cisterns. They built sewers for urban drainage. These projects required sophisticated planning and execution. The Ponte Sodo at Veii exemplifies hydraulic engineering. This tunnel diverted a stream threatening the city. Cut through solid rock, it extends over 70 meters. The project required precise surveying. It demonstrates mastery of practical engineering. Rock-cut tombs showcase architectural ambition. Carved from volcanic tufa, these tombs replicated house interiors. Columns, doorways, and ceilings imitated wooden architecture. Furniture and decorations appeared in relief. These spaces created eternal dwellings for the deceased. The Tomb of the Reliefs at Cerveteri preserves domestic details. Dating to the 4th century before the Common Era, it features carved household objects. Weapons hang on walls. Kitchen utensils occupy shelves. Pets appear beneath couches. These details recreate living spaces. Musical traditions permeated Etruscan culture. Musicians appeared frequently in art. Instruments accompanied religious ceremonies. Music enhanced banquets and festivals. Professional musicians enjoyed social respect. This emphasis on music influenced Roman culture. Wind instruments predominated in Etruscan music. The double flute, or aulos, appeared constantly. Trumpets signaled military and ceremonial occasions. Horns produced various tones. Panpipes provided pastoral melodies. These instruments created diverse soundscapes. String instruments included lyres and cithara. Players plucked strings with fingers or plectra. These instruments accompanied songs, they provided banquet entertainment. They appeared in religious contexts. Skilled performers achieved fame. Percussion instruments marked rhythms. Castanets clicked in dancers' hands. Cymbals crashed during ecstatic rites. Drums beat for processions. These instruments energized performances. They induced religious enthusiasm. Dance complemented musical performances. Tomb paintings show various dance types. Religious dances honored deities. Funeral dances commemorated the deceased. Social dances entertained banqueters. Professional dancers performed at festivals. The tomb of the triclinium depicts dancers vividly. A young man leaps energetically. A woman moves gracefully. Musicians accompany their performance. The scene captures movement and joy. It demonstrates dance's cultural importance. Etruscan clothing reflected status and cultural identity. Aristocrats wore elaborate garments. Bright colours and patterns predominated. Eastern influences appeared in early periods. Greek styles influenced later fashion. Local traditions persisted throughout. The terbena, a rounded mantle, represented distinctive Etruscan dress. This garment preceded the Roman toga. It draped over one shoulder. Decorative borders enhanced appearance. Purple indicated high status. This clothing marked Etruscan identity. Women's clothing demonstrated relative freedom. Etruscan women appeared publicly unlike secluded Greek women. They wore long chitons or tunics. Mantles provided warmth. Elaborate jewellery complemented outfits. Their dress reflected social participation. Jewellery showcased metalworking skills and wealth. Gold granulation created intricate patterns. Filigree added delicate details. Gemstones provided colour. Amber from the Baltic appeared frequently. These ornaments displayed status and taste. The Regalini Galassi fibula exemplifies jewellery artistry. This 7th century gold brooch features extraordinary decoration. Lions parade across the surface. Granulation creates texture. The piece demonstrates technical mastery and artistic sophistication. Personal grooming received considerable attention. Mirrors, razors, and cosmetic containers appear frequently. Perfume bottles contained fragrances. Strigils scraped skin clean. Combs arranged hair. These items reveal attention to appearance. Hairstyles varied by period and gender. Women's arrangements range from simple to elaborate. Braids, curls, and pins created complex styles. Men's hair varied from long to short. Beards appeared and disappeared following fashion. These choices expressed identity and status. The Etruscan day began with the sunrise. Households stirred as dawn light entered through windows and doorways. Servants prepared morning meals. Masters performed morning ablutions. Children readied for their daily activities. The household shrine received morning offerings. Etruscan society centered on the family unit. The patriarch held authority over household members. His power extended to adult sons and their families. He controlled property and made major decisions. He represented the family in public affairs. Yet this authority operated within social constraints. Women enjoyed remarkable freedom compared to their Greek contemporaries. Etruscan women attended public events. They participated in banquets alongside men. They owned property in their own names. They commissioned artworks and inscriptions. Their names appeared alongside their husbands in dedications. Tanakil, wife of Tarquinius Priscus, exemplified female influence. Ancient sources credit her with prophetic abilities. She supposedly orchestrated her husband's rise to Roman kingship. She influenced succession after his death. Her story, though legendary, reflects Etruscan women's potential authority. Tomb inscriptions preserve women's identities. Unlike Greek practice, Etruscan women retained their names after marriage. Inscriptions record both maternal and paternal lineages. Women received elaborate burials equal to men's. These practices demonstrate female social importance. Children occupied cherished positions in families. Tomb paintings show parents embracing children. Toys found in children's graves include dolls, miniature vehicles, and game pieces. Special feeding bottles called gutus nourished infants. These artifacts reveal parental care and affection. Education began within households. Boys learned their fathers' occupations. Aristocratic youth studied reading and writing. They learned religious rituals. They practiced military skills. They absorbed social customs through observation and participation. The Etruscan language itself reveals social structures. Personal names followed complex patterns. Men bore individual names, family names, and sometimes cognomens. Women used individual and family names. Slaves took their masters' names upon manumission. These naming conventions marked social relationships. Houses reflected social hierarchy clearly. Aristocratic residences occupied prime urban locations. They featured multiple rooms around central courtyards. Decorative elements enhanced prestige. Storage areas held agricultural surplus. Reception spaces accommodated clients and guests. Middle-class houses showed modest comfort. Craftsmen lived near their workshops. Merchants resided close to markets. These dwellings balanced domestic and commercial needs. They lacked aristocratic luxury but provided adequate shelter. Lower-class housing left fewer archaeological traces. Temporary structures housed agricultural workers. Multi-story buildings possibly accommodated urban poor. These dwellings used perishable materials. Their inhabitants left minimal material culture. Daily meals structured Etruscan routines. Morning meals remained simple. Bread, cheese, and fruit sufficed. Lunch provided more substantial fare. Evening dinner became the day's main meal. Aristocratic dinners transformed into elaborate banquets. Etruscan cuisine combined local and imported ingredients. Wheat provided bread and porridge. Barley supplemented grain supplies. Legumes added protein. Vegetables included onions, garlic, and cabbage. Fruits ranged from grapes to pomegranates. Meat consumption indicated wealth. Pork appeared most frequently. Beef remained expensive. Sheep and goats provided meat and dairy. Wild game supplemented domestic animals. Fish and seafood enriched coastal diets. Wine occupied central cultural position. Etruscans produced wine from extensive vineyards. They developed distinctive wine-mixing traditions. They exported wine throughout the Mediterranean. Wine consumption marked social occasions and religious rituals. Etruscan banquets became legendary for their elaborateness. These events displayed wealth and reinforced social bonds. Guests reclined on couches. Servants provided continuous food and wine. Musicians and dancers entertained. These gatherings could last hours. Banquet scenes dominate tomb paintings. The Tomb of the Leopard shows typical arrangements. Couples share couches. Tables hold food and drink. Servants attend diners' needs. Musicians provide atmosphere. The scene radiates pleasure and abundance. Women's banquet participation scandalized Greeks and Romans. Greek writers criticized Etruscan women for drinking wine publicly. Roman authors condemned their presence at male gatherings. These criticisms reflect different cultural values rather than Etruscan immorality. Clothing and jewelry displayed status and wealth. Aristocrats wore elaborate garments of fine fabrics. Bright colors, especially purple, indicated rank. Jewelry adorned both men and women. These visual markers reinforced social hierarchy. Work patterns varied by social class and occupation. Farmers followed seasonal rhythms. Ploughing, planting, and harvesting demanded intense labor. Winter provided relative respite. Agricultural success required detailed environmental knowledge. Craftsmen worked year-round in urban workshops. Potters shaped clay on wheels. Metalworkers hammered bronze and iron. Jewelers created intricate ornaments. Painters decorated pottery and walls. These specialists developed considerable expertise. Merchants facilitated economic exchange. They traveled between cities and regions. They negotiated prices and terms. They managed transportation and storage. They connected producers with consumers. Their activities generated substantial wealth. Maritime trade required specialized skills. Sailors navigated by stars and landmarks. They understood winds and currents. They managed complex rigging. They faced storms and pirates. Their courage enabled Etruscan commercial expansion. Mining operations demanded organized labor. Workers extracted ore from deep shafts. They processed raw materials on site. They transported refined metals to workshops. These operations required significant investment and management. Markets animated Etruscan cities. Vendors sold produce and crafts. Customers bargained over prices. News and gossip circulated. Social interactions occurred across class lines. These spaces fostered urban vitality. Entertainment varied by social level. Aristocrats enjoyed private performances. They sponsored public spectacles. They collected art and literature. They pursued hunting and athletics. Their leisure reflected wealth and culture. Common people found simpler pleasures. They attended religious festivals. They watched public performances. They played dice and board games. They gathered in taverns. Their entertainment required fewer resources. Sports and games held important positions. Chariot racing thrilled spectators. Wrestling and boxing demonstrated strength. Running and jumping showed agility. These competitions honored gods and deceased elites. The Tomb of the Augurs depicts funeral games. Wrestlers grapple. A masked figure called Fair Sue participates in bloody contests. These games possibly originated gladiatorial combat. They combined entertainment with religious significance. Hunting provided food and sport. Aristocrats hunted wild boar and deer. They used dogs and nets. They displayed prowess and courage. Hunting scenes appear frequently in art. This activity reinforced elite masculine identity. Fishing supplemented diets and provided occupation. Coastal communities exploited marine resources. Rivers and lakes yielded freshwater fish. Various techniques included nets, lines, and traps. This activity supported numerous families. Religious observances punctuated daily life. Morning prayers honored household gods. Offerings accompanied meals. Important decisions required divine consultation. Religious festivals interrupted normal routines. Sacred and secular activities intertwined constantly. Death rituals reflected social status profoundly. Aristocratic funerals became elaborate spectacles. Processions displayed wealth. Professional mourners lamented. Musicians played dirges. Games honored the deceased. These ceremonies reinforced family prestige. Common people received simpler rites. Basic ceremonies ensured proper passage. Modest grave goods accompanied burials. Family members performed rituals. Community support assisted bereaved families. These practices maintained social cohesion. Slavery existed but remains poorly documented. War captives entered servitude. Debt forced some into bondage. Slaves performed domestic and agricultural labor. Manumission occurred regularly. Freed slaves joined client networks. The Etruscan week followed market cycles. Every 8 or 9 days, markets convened. These occasions brought rural people to cities. Commercial, social, and religious activities combined. This rhythm structured temporal experience. Seasons shaped activity patterns. Spring brought ploughing and planting. Summer demanded cultivation and early harvests. Autumn featured major harvests and vintage. Winter allowed craft production and maintenance. This cycle connected Etruscans to natural rhythms. Personal hygiene received attention. Bathing facilities appear in wealthy houses. Public baths possibly existed in cities. Perfumes and cosmetics enhanced appearance. Medical treatments addressed ailments. These practices promoted health and social presentation. Medicine combined practical and religious approaches. Anatomical votives suggest medical knowledge. Herbal remedies treated illnesses. Surgical instruments indicate procedures. Divine intervention supplemented human healing. Medical practice mixed empirical and spiritual elements. Etruscan prosperity rested on extensive trade networks. From the 8th century before the Common Era onward, Etruscan merchants sailed across the Mediterranean. They established commercial contacts from Spain to the Levant. They traded with Greeks, Phoenicians, and Carthaginians. Their ships carried metals, wine, and manufactured goods to eager markets. The Tyrrhenian Sea became an Etruscan lake. Etruscan naval power controlled western Italian waters. Pirates operating from Etruscan ports threatened competitors. This maritime dominance generated wealth and enabled commercial expansion. Control of sea routes proved essential to Etruscan prosperity. Etruscan ports buzzed with commercial activity. Pyrgi served as Cerveteri's main harbour. Gravisca functioned as Tarquinia's port. Populonia handled iron shipments from Elba. These ports featured warehouses, docks, and foreign quarters. They connected Etruria to the Mediterranean world. Archaeological evidence reveals international connections. Greek pottery dominates early tomb contents. Phoenician scarabs and ivories appear frequently. Egyptian faience and amulets reached Etruria. Celtic metalwork arrived from the north. These imports demonstrate extensive trade relationships. Etruscan exports achieved wide distribution. Bucera pottery reached sites throughout the western Mediterranean. Bronze vessels appeared in Celtic graves. Etruscan wine amphorae travelled to southern France. These products carried Etruscan influence far beyond their homeland. Metal resources provided Etruria's economic foundation. The Colline Metallifer contained copper, tin, lead, and silver. Elba Island supplied high-quality iron ore. Local workshops transformed raw materials into finished products. This metallurgical industry generated enormous wealth. Mining operations required sophisticated organization. Vertical shafts reached deep deposits. Horizontal galleries followed ore veins. Drainage systems removed groundwater. Ventilation shafts provided air. These engineering achievements enabled intensive extraction. Ore processing occurred near mines. Furnaces smelted raw ore. Slag heaps accumulated over centuries. Refined metals travelled to workshops. This processing added value before transport. Local communities specialized in different production stages. Metalworking workshops produced diverse items. Utilitarian objects included tools and weapons. Luxury items featured elaborate decoration. Bronze mirrors, vessels, and sculptures demonstrated artistic skill. These products satisfied local and export markets. The bronze industry achieved particular prominence. Etruscan bronzes gained fame throughout antiquity. Greek and Roman authors praised their quality. Archaeological finds confirm this reputation. Bronze working represented Etruscan craftsmanship at its finest. Ironworking revolutionized agriculture and warfare. Iron plowshares improved cultivation. Iron weapons enhanced military effectiveness. Iron tools facilitated construction. This metal's availability contributed to Etruscan development. Agricultural production supported population growth and trade. Etruscan farmers cultivated grains extensively. Wheat and barley fed urban populations. Surplus grain possibly entered export markets. Agricultural prosperity underpinned economic expansion. Viticulture became increasingly important. Etruscan wine gained international reputation. Distinctive amphorae carried wine abroad. Drinking vessels accompanied wine exports. This trade spread Etruscan banquet customs. Olive cultivation provided oil for multiple uses. Cooking, lighting, and cosmetics required oil. Etruscan oil competed with Greek products. Local consumption absorbed most production. Exports supplemented domestic markets. Animal husbandry supplied various products. Cattle provided meat, leather, and traction. Sheep yielded wool and dairy. Pigs furnished abundant meat. Horses served transportation and warfare. These resources supported diverse economic activities. Textile production employed many workers. Wool processing required multiple stages. Spinning and weaving demanded skill. Dyeing added value. Finished textiles served local and export markets. This industry particularly engaged women. Purple dye extraction created luxury products. Murex shells from coastal waters yielded precious dye. The complex process required expertise. Purple textiles commanded high prices. This industry exemplified value-added production. Ceramic production satisfied diverse needs. Utilitarian pottery served daily use. Fine wares competed with imports. Architectural terracottas decorated buildings. This industry adapted to changing demands. Boquero production represented indigenous innovation. This distinctive black pottery emerged around 650 before the Common Era. Local workshops developed unique techniques. Products achieved wide distribution. Boquero became synonymous with Etruscan culture. Painted pottery imitated and adapted Greek styles. Local workshops produced black figure vessels. Red figure technique arrived later. Etruscan painters created original compositions. This production satisfied demand for decorated ceramics. Stoneworking exploited local resources. Tufa provided building material. Alabaster yielded sculptural medium. Travertine offered durable stone. These materials supported construction and artistic production. Woodworking left fewer traces but remained important. Shipbuilding consumed vast timber resources. Furniture production served domestic needs. Architectural elements required skilled carpentry. Forests provided essential raw materials. Trade routes connected Etruria to distant markets. Maritime paths followed coastal waters. Ships hugged shores for safety. Islands provided stopping points. Navigation required experience and courage. Land routes crossed challenging terrain. Mountain passes connected Etruria to the Po Valley. Roads followed river valleys. Pack animals carried goods. Wheeled vehicles transported bulk commodities. The Via Salaria exemplified important trade routes. This salt road connected Rome to the Adriatic. Salt from coastal production travelled inland. Return journeys carried other goods. Control of this route brought wealth. Northern connections proved particularly significant. Etruscans established settlements beyond the Apennines. Marzabotto near Bologna shows urban planning. Spina on the Adriatic coast facilitated trade. These colonies extended Etruscan commercial reach. Celtic contacts enriched both cultures. Etruscans imported Celtic metalwork. Celts adopted Etruscan luxury goods. Wine trade proved especially important. These exchanges influenced artistic styles and social customs. Greek relationships combined competition and cooperation. Greeks established colonies in southern Italy. Competition for resources and markets created tensions. Yet trade flourished between Greek and Etruscan cities. Cultural exchange accompanied commercial interaction. Etruscan merchants operated in Greek ports. The sanctuary at Gravisca contained Greek and Etruscan dedications. Mixed communities facilitated trade. Intermarriage created family networks. These connections transcended political boundaries. Phoenician and Carthaginian partnerships proved valuable. Shared interests in Western Mediterranean trade created alliances. Joint ventures challenged Greek expansion. Military cooperation occurred against common enemies. These relationships shaped regional politics. The Pergi tablets illuminate international relations. These gold sheets contain parallel Etruscan and Phoenician texts. They record a dedication by Cerveteri's ruler. The find demonstrates diplomatic and religious connections. Such relationships facilitated commercial cooperation. Trade agreements regulated commercial relationships. Treaties defined trading rights. Customs duties generated revenue. Commercial disputes required resolution mechanisms. These arrangements created predictable business environments. Piracy complicated maritime commerce. Etruscan pirates gained fearsome reputations. They attacked competitor shipping. They ransomed captives. They sold stolen goods. This activity blurred lines between trade and raiding. Naval battles secured commercial interests. The Battle of Alalia, around 540 before the Common Era, proved decisive. Etruscans and Carthaginians defeated Phocaean Greeks. This victory maintained Etruscan control of Tyrrhenian waters. Maritime dominance ensured commercial prosperity. Currency appeared relatively late in Etruria. Early trade used barter and weight standards. Bronze ingots served as primitive money. Coins appeared during the 5th century before the Common Era. Different cities issued distinct coinages. Etruscan coins reveal economic priorities. Marine creatures decorated coastal city coins. Agricultural symbols appeared on inland issues. Weight standards varied between regions. Coinage facilitated trade while expressing civic identity. Markets organized commercial exchange. Regular market days brought buyers and sellers together. Permanent shops lined city streets. Temporary stalls filled public spaces. These venues enabled economic transactions. Weights and measures ensured fair trade. Standardized units prevented fraud. Official inspectors verified accuracy. Penalties punished violations. These systems created trust essential for commerce. Storage facilities supported trade. Warehouses held goods awaiting transport. Granaries stored agricultural surplus. Cisterns preserved wine and oil. These structures enabled large-scale commerce. Credit mechanisms facilitated transactions. Merchants extended payment terms. Loans financed ventures. Debt created social obligations. These practices enabled complex commercial operations. Commercial law regulated business practices. Contracts defined obligations. Witnesses ensured accountability. Violations brought penalties. These rules created predictable commercial environment. Economic specialization increased efficiency. Cities developed particular industries. Regions focused on specific products. Craftsmen perfected techniques. This specialization enhanced productivity and quality. The Etruscan language remains one of antiquity's great mysteries. Unlike Latin, Greek, or Celtic tongues, Etruscan belonged to no known language family. Its isolation complicates decipherment efforts. Despite thousands of surviving inscriptions, much remains uncertain about grammar and vocabulary. The alphabet tells a clearer story. Etruscans adopted Greek letters around 700 before the Common Era. They learned writing from Greek colonists in southern Italy. They modified letters to suit their language's sounds. This adapted alphabet spread throughout Etruria. The earliest Etruscan inscriptions appear on pottery and personal objects. Names identify owners. Dedications honor deities. Gift inscriptions record exchanges. These brief texts demonstrate writing's quick adoption for practical purposes. The alphabet evolved over time. Early inscriptions used about 26 letters. Classical Etruscan reduced this to 20 letters. Regional variations existed. Northern and southern areas showed different preferences. This diversity reflects Etruria's political fragmentation. Writing direction varied in early periods. Some texts read right to left, others proceeded left to right. Boustrophodon style alternated directions between lines. Eventually right to left became standard. This consistency aided reading. Etruscan phonology differed from familiar languages. The language lacked certain consonants. No distinction existed between voiced and voiceless stops. Consonant clusters appeared rarely. Vowel systems remained relatively simple. These features gave Etruscan its distinctive sound. Word formation followed agglutinative patterns. Suffixes modified meaning, endings indicated grammatical relationships. Roots combined to create compounds. This system differed markedly from Indo-European languages. Personal names provide substantial linguistic evidence. Naming formulas included individual names, family names, and matronymics or patronymics. Suffixes indicated gender and number. These patterns reveal social structures and linguistic rules. Over 10,000 inscriptions survive today. Most contain only names and brief formulas. Longer texts remain rare. The Zagreb mummy wrappings preserve the longest text. The Capua tile contains extensive religious content. These documents provide crucial linguistic data. The Zagreb mummy text presents unique evidence. Linen wrappings from an Egyptian mummy bear Etruscan writing. The text contains about 1,200 readable words. It appears to be a religious calendar. This document demonstrates lost Etruscan literature. The Capua tile offers ritual prescriptions. This terracotta tablet contains about 300 words. It describes religious ceremonies. Dates and deities appear frequently. The text illuminates Etruscan religious practices. The Pyrgi tablets provide bilingual evidence. These gold sheets contain parallel Etruscan and Phoenician texts. They record a temple dedication. The parallel texts aid translation efforts. Such bilingual inscriptions remain frustratingly rare. The Tabula Cortinensis records a legal document. This bronze tablet preserves a contract. It involves land transactions. Multiple parties appear. The text demonstrates legal language use. Tomb inscriptions commemorate the deceased. Names and ages appear commonly. Family relationships receive mention. Achievements and offices get recorded. These texts preserve social information. Boundary stones marked territorial limits. Inscriptions identified owners. Legal formulas protected property. Curses threatened violators. These markers demonstrate writing's legal functions. Votive inscriptions accompanied offerings. Dedicants identified themselves. Deities received invocations. Requests appeared occasionally. These texts reveal religious practices. Mirror inscriptions labeled mythological scenes. Names identified figures. Brief narratives explained actions. These labels aided scene interpretation. They demonstrate mythological knowledge. Coin legends identified issuing authorities. City names appeared. Magistrate names featured. Value marks indicated denominations. These inscriptions served economic functions. Writing materials varied by purpose. Stone preserved permanent records. Bronze offered durability. Clay provided cheap medium. Lead served for curse tablets. Linen and papyrus, mostly lost, carried literature. Writing tools included various implements. Styluses inscribed wax tablets. Chisels carved stone. Brushes painted inscriptions. These tools required different skills. Professional scribes mastered multiple techniques. Literacy rates remain uncertain. Aristocrats likely read and wrote. Merchants needed basic literacy. Craftsmen signed their works. Women's literacy appears probable among elites. Overall rates probably remained low. Schools possibly existed in major cities. No direct evidence survives. References suggest educational institutions. Young aristocrats learned letters. Professional scribes received training. Libraries might have existed. Romans mentioned Etruscan books. Religious texts required preservation. Historical records needed storage. Yet no library remained survive. Perishable materials left no traces. Literature existed but barely survives. Religious texts dominated preserved fragments. Historical works allegedly existed. Dramatic performances possibly occurred. Poetry might have flourished. Almost everything vanished. Roman authors mentioned Etruscan histories. Claudius wrote 20 books on Etruscan history. He used Etruscan sources. These native histories provided information. Their loss impoverishes our knowledge. Religious literature appears most frequently. The Disciplina Etrusca contained divination rules. Ritual books prescribed ceremonies. Sacred calendars marked festivals. These texts guided religious practice. Prophecies held special importance. The books of Vagoya contained prophecies. The nymph Vagoya allegedly revealed them. They predicted Etruria's future. Romans consulted them during crises. The Sibylline books possibly included Etruscan material. These prophetic texts guided Roman religion. They prescribed responses to prodigies. Etruscan influence seems likely. The book's destruction eliminated evidence. Drama possibly existed in Etruria. Tomb paintings show performers. Musicians and dancers appear frequently. Masks suggest theatrical performances. Literary drama remains unattested. Songs and hymns accompanied rituals. Musical notation hasn't survived. Lyrics disappeared with melodies. Religious songs probably existed. Secular music left no written traces. Translation efforts continue today. Combinatorial methods compare inscriptions. Statistical analysis reveals patterns. Computer analysis aids research. Progress remains slow but steady. Bilingual inscriptions offer hope. New discoveries might provide keys. Parallel texts enable comparison. The Pergae tablets demonstrated possibilities. Future finds could unlock mysteries. Loanwords in Latin provide clues. Etruscan terms entered Latin vocabulary. Religious and theatrical terminology predominated. Personal names persisted. These borrowings preserve Etruscan words. Place names maintain Etruscan presence. Many Italian toponyms derive from Etruscan. City names like Arezzo and Cortona continue. River names preserve ancient designations. The landscape remembers Etruscan language. Modern Italian dialects might preserve influences. Some phonological features possibly derive from Etruscan. Vocabulary items might survive. Substrate influences remain debated. Ancient languages echo faintly. The language's death occurred gradually. Roman conquest didn't immediately eliminate Etruscan. The language persisted for centuries. Rural areas maintained it longer. Elite families preserved traditions. Claudius still found Etruscan speakers. He learned the language from scholars. First-century Common Era inscriptions exist. The language survived in religious contexts. Gradual decline led to extinction. Christianity hastened Etruscans' disappearance. Pagan priests maintained old traditions. Christian conversion eliminated these roles. Sacred texts lost their purpose. The language's religious function vanished. By the 2nd century Common Era, Etruscan barely survived. Only learned antiquarians understood it. Rural communities possibly maintained fragments. Religious formulas persisted in fossilized forms. Living speech had essentially ended. The language's loss impoverishes our understanding. Etruscan literature vanished almost completely. Historical records disappeared. Religious texts survive only in fragments. An entire civilization's voice fell silent. Etruscan military might shaped central Italian politics for centuries. Their armies fielded well-equipped infantry. Their navies dominated the Tyrrhenian Sea. Their fortifications protected prosperous cities. Military power enabled expansion and defended wealth. Early Etruscan warfare followed aristocratic patterns. Noble warriors fought from chariots. They wore bronze armor. They carried spears and swords. Individual combat demonstrated prowess. War remained limited and seasonal. The 7th century before the Common Era brought changes. Contact with Greeks introduced new tactics. Hoplite warfare spread to Etruria. Heavy infantry fighting in formation replaced individual combat. This transformation revolutionized Etruscan warfare. Etruscan hoplites resembled Greek counterparts. They wore bronze helmets, breastplates, and greaves. They carried large round shields called aspides. They fought with thrusting spears. Short swords provided backup weapons. The tomb of the warrior at Volsi reveals equipment. A complete bronze panoply accompanied the deceased. Helmet, cuirass, greaves, and shield demonstrate wealth. Weapons include spears and swords. This equipment cost enormous sums. Not all soldiers afforded complete armor. Lighter-armed troops supplemented hoplites. They wore less protection. They carried javelins and smaller shields. They provided flexibility in battle. Military organization reflected social structure. Aristocrats served as officers. Citizens formed infantry ranks. Allies provided auxiliary forces. Mercenaries supplemented native troops. This system balanced tradition with military needs. Each city maintained its own forces. No unified Etruscan army existed. Cities cooperated occasionally against common threats. More often they fought independently. This fragmentation weakened Etruscan military power. Training began in youth for aristocrats. Boys learned weapon handling. They practiced formation fighting. They developed physical strength. They absorbed military values. This preparation created competent officers. Common soldiers received less formal training. Seasonal campaigns provided experience. Veterans taught newcomers. Practice occurred before battles. Professional competence varied considerably. Etruscan cavalry played supporting roles. Horsemen scouted and pursued. They protected flanks. They exploited victories. yet infantry dominated battlefields. Cavalry remained secondary. Chariots retained ceremonial importance. Racing demonstrated horsemanship. Processions displayed wealth, yet chariots disappeared from actual combat. They became symbols rather than weapons. Naval power proved equally important. Etruscan fleets controlled western Italian waters. They protected maritime trade. They raided enemy coasts. They transported armies. Sea power enabled Etruscan prosperity. Etruscan ships resembled contemporary Greek vessels. Biremes with 2 rowing levels provided speed. Rams enabled offensive tactics. Marines fought from decks. These vessels combined mobility with fighting capability. Naval battles occurred frequently. Etruscans fought Greeks for commercial dominance. They allied with Carthaginians against common enemies. They suppressed piracy while practicing it themselves. Maritime conflict shaped regional politics. The Battle of Alalia demonstrated naval importance. Around 540 before the Common Era, Phocian Greeks threatened Etruscan interests. Etruscans and Carthaginians combined fleets. They defeated Greek forces. This victory maintained Etruscan maritime dominance. Fortifications protected Etruscan cities impressively. Massive walls enclosed urban areas. Gates controlled access. Towers provided defensive positions. These fortifications required enormous resources. Wall construction techniques evolved over time. Early walls used rough stones. Later walls featured carefully cut blocks. Etruscan arches appeared in gates. Engineering sophistication increased steadily. Veii fortifications exemplify defensive architecture. Cliffs provided natural protection. Walls secured vulnerable approaches. Gates funneled attackers. The defences resisted Roman sieges for years. Siege warfare challenged Etruscan cities. Attackers built siege works. They attempted starvation. They undermined walls. They used battering rams. Defenders responded with countermeasures. The Siege of Veii demonstrated siege warfare's evolution. Romans besieged the city for 10 years. They built circumvallation lines. They dug tunnels. They finally captured the city through subterfuge. Weapons evolved throughout Etruscan history. Bronze gave way to iron. Swords became longer and more effective. Armour grew lighter but maintained protection. Military technology advanced steadily. The Nagao helmet type spread throughout Etruria. This bronze helmet provided excellent protection. Cheek pieces guarded faces. Neck guards protected from behind. Decorative elements displayed status. Body armour showed various styles. Scale armour offered flexibility. Plate armour provided maximum protection. Leather and fabric armour served poorer soldiers. Protection levels reflected economic resources. Shields varied by troop type. Heavy infantry carried large round shields. Light troops used smaller shields. Oval shields appeared later. Shield devices possibly indicated units. Offensive weapons included diverse types. Spears served as primary weapons. Swords provided close combat capability. Axes appeared occasionally. Daggers served as last resort weapons. Missile weapons supplemented hand-to-hand combat. Javelins disrupted enemy formations. Slings hurled stones and lead bullets. Bows appeared rarely. Ranged combat preceded close engagement. Military camps followed organized patterns. Temporary fortifications protected armies. Organized layouts facilitated command. Supply systems supported operations. These practices influenced Roman methods. Logistics determined campaign success. Armies required food supplies, equipment needed maintenance. Wounded required care. Supply lines proved vulnerable. Organization enabled sustained operations. Military service obligations varied by city and period. Citizens owed military duty. Service duration depended on campaigns. Age limits excluded elderly. Property qualifications determined equipment. These systems balanced needs with resources. Mercenaries increasingly supplemented citizen forces. Professional soldiers provided experience. They fought for payment. They lacked political motivations. Their loyalty depended on compensation. Celtic mercenaries appeared frequently. Their fighting skills impressed employers. They introduced different tactics. They provided cavalry. Their service created cultural exchanges. Military defeats weakened Etruscan power progressively. Losses to Romans accumulated. Territory shrank steadily. Military capacity declined. Political independence ended. Yet military traditions influenced conquerors. Etruscan military practices influenced Rome profoundly. Romans adopted Etruscan organization initially. They copied equipment styles. They learned siege techniques. They inherited naval knowledge. This legacy shaped Roman military development. Military religion permeated warfare. Divination preceded campaigns. Priests accompanied armies. Victory required divine favor. Defeat indicated religious failure. Sacred and military spheres intertwined. War dances and music accompanied battles. Trumpets signaled maneuvers. War cries intimidated enemies. Victory songs celebrated success. These elements combined practical and ritual functions. Prisoners faced various fates. Enslavement awaited many. Ransom freed wealthy captives. Execution eliminated threats. Incorporation strengthened armies. Treatment varied by circumstances. Veterans received social recognition. Successful warriors gained prestige. Battle scars demonstrated courage. Military service enhanced status. Yet Etruscan society valued commerce equally. The relationship between Etruscans and early Rome shaped both civilizations profoundly. 3 Etruscan kings ruled Rome during its monarchical period. These rulers transformed a small Latin settlement into a significant regional power. Their reigns brought Etruscan culture, technology, and institutions to Rome. Tarquinius Priscus arrived in Rome as Lucumo, son of Demaratus. His father, a Corinthian exile, had settled in Tarquinia. His mother belonged to Tarquinian nobility. This mixed heritage brought Greek and Etruscan influences together. Young Lucumo married Tanaquil, an aristocratic Etruscan woman. The couple migrated to Rome seeking opportunity. Tarquinia's established aristocracy limited outsiders' advancement. Rome offered possibilities for ambitious newcomers. The journey itself became legendary. An eagle supposedly seized Lucumo's cap, then replaced it. Tanaquil interpreted this as an omen of future kingship. Upon reaching Rome, Lucumo changed his name to Lucius Tarquinius. He ingratiated himself with King Ancus Marcius. His wealth enabled generous public gifts. His charm won popular support. His competence impressed the king. Ancus Marcius appointed him guardian of his children. When Ancus Marcius died around 616 before the Common Era, Tarquinius seized power. He convinced the king's sons to leave Rome temporarily. During their absence, he secured election as king. The assembly chose him over the rightful heirs. This usurpation established precedent for non-hereditary succession. Tarquinius Priscus ruled for 38 years. His reign transformed Rome dramatically. He increased the Senate from 100 to 300 members. He added new citizens from conquered territories. He reorganized military forces. He initiated massive construction projects. The king drained the Forum Valley. This marshy area between hills became Rome's civic center. The Cloaca Maxima, a great sewer, channeled water away. This engineering feat required Etruscan expertise. The drained land enabled urban expansion. Tarquinius began constructing the Circus Maximus. This venue for chariot races became Rome's largest public space. The races themselves followed Etruscan traditions. Religious ceremonies accompanied competitions. Public spectacles reinforced royal authority. The king also initiated the Temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus. This massive structure crowned the Capitoline Hill. Etruscan architects designed the building. Etruscan artists created decorations. The temple became Rome's most sacred site. Military campaigns expanded Roman territory. Tarquinius fought Latin neighbours successfully. He defeated Sabine forces. He conquered several Latin towns. These victories increased Rome's resources and prestige. Etruscan military techniques contributed to success. The king introduced Etruscan symbols of authority. The purple toga became royal dress. Lictors bearing fasces preceded the king. The ivory throne displayed power. The golden crown marked sovereignty. These regalia impressed subjects and neighbours. Tarquinius promoted trade and crafts. Etruscan craftsmen settled in Rome. Greek merchants established businesses. Markets expanded. Urban activities flourished. Economic growth supported population increase. The king's reign ended violently around 578 before the Common Era. The sons of Ancus Marcius orchestrated assassination. They hired shepherds to create a disturbance. During the confusion, assassins killed Tarquinius. Yet Tanacle's quick thinking preserved Etruscan rule. Tanacle concealed the king's death initially. She announced he was merely wounded. She claimed he appointed Servius Tullius as temporary ruler. By the time the truth emerged, Servius had consolidated power. This succession maintained Etruscan influence. Servius Tullius ruled from 578 to 535 before the Common Era. His origins remain disputed. Some sources call him Etruscan. Others claim Latin ancestry. Tradition says he was born a slave. Divine signs supposedly marked him for greatness. The story tells that flames surrounded young Servius's head while sleeping. The fire caused no harm. Tanaquil recognized this portent. She convinced Tarquinius to raise the boy. Servius received aristocratic education. He married the king's daughter. Servius transformed Roman society fundamentally. He conducted the first census. He reorganized citizens into classes based on wealth. He created new voting assemblies. These reforms balanced aristocratic and popular power. They established frameworks lasting centuries. The Servian constitution divided citizens into 5 classes. Wealth determined classification. Military obligations corresponded to economic status. Voting power reflected contributions. This system linked rights with responsibilities. Servius supposedly built Rome's first stone walls. The Servian walls enclosed the 7 hills. These fortifications protected expanding Rome. Archaeological evidence suggests later construction. Yet tradition credits Servius with defending Rome. The king reorganized Rome's tribes territorially. 4 urban tribes covered city districts. 16 rural tribes encompassed countryside. Later additions reached 31 rural tribes. This organization facilitated administration and military recruitment. Servius promoted trade and commerce. He established a temple to Diana on the Aventine. This sanctuary served Latin merchants. It provided neutral meeting ground. Commercial activity flourished under royal protection. The king's religious innovations proved lasting. He built temples to Fortuna and Mater Matuta. He established festivals and ceremonies. He integrated Latin and Etruscan religious practices. These changes shaped Roman religion permanently. Servius maintained peaceful foreign relations mostly. He negotiated rather than fought. He formed alliances with Latin cities. He avoided major conflicts. This policy enabled internal development. The king's domestic life proved tragic. His daughters, both named Tullia, married Tarquinius's sons. The younger Tullia possessed ruthless ambition. She despised her mild husband. She admired her brother-in-law's aggression. Tullia orchestrated family murders. She arranged her husband's death. She caused her sister's elimination. She married Lucius Tarquinius. Together they plotted against Servius. The coup succeeded through violence. Lucius Tarquinius confronted Servius in the Senate. He physically threw the elderly king down steps. Tullia drove her chariot over her father's body. This brutality shocked even hardened Romans. Tarquinius Superbus ruled from 535 to 509 before the Common Era. His cognomen Superbus meant proud or arrogant. His reign fulfilled this characterization. He ruled through fear rather than consensus. The king eliminated opposition ruthlessly. He executed senators without trial. He exiled potential rivals. He confiscated property. He surrounded himself with bodyguards. Terror replaced traditional authority. Tarquinius abandoned constitutional practices. He stopped consulting the Senate. He made decisions arbitrarily. He appointed officials personally. He treated Rome as personal property. This absolutism violated Roman traditions. Despite tyranny, Tarquinius achieved successes. He completed the Temple of Jupiter. He extended Roman power. He defeated Volscian enemies. He captured Suessa Pometia. Military victories couldn't compensate for domestic oppression. The king formed alliances through marriage. He gave his daughter to Octavius Mamilius of Tusculum. This connection later proved important. It provided refuge after expulsion. It enabled attempts at restoration. Tarquinius undertook impressive construction projects. He completed the Cloaca Maxima. He finished the Circus Maximus. He built seats for spectators. These projects employed and fed poor citizens. They also demonstrated royal power. The rape of Lucretia triggered Tarquinius's downfall. The king's son, Sextus Tarquinius, desired Lucretia. She was married to Collatinus. Her virtue and beauty attracted unwanted attention. Sextus's crime catalyzed revolution. The story became Roman legend. Sextus visited Lucretia while Collatinus was absent. He threatened her with death and dishonor. She submitted under duress. The next day she revealed the crime, then committed suicide. Lucius Junius Brutus led the revolution. He was Tarquinius's nephew but hated tyranny. He displayed Lucretia's body publicly. He aroused popular anger. He organized resistance against the monarchy. The revolution succeeded swiftly. The army at Ardea abandoned Tarquinius. Rome's gates closed against the king. The Senate declared the monarchy ended. The Republic began in 509 before the Common Era. Tarquinius sought restoration repeatedly. He appealed to Etruscan cities for support. Veii and Tarquinia provided some assistance. Lars Porsena of Chiusi allegedly besieged Rome. These efforts ultimately failed. The Battle of Lake Regillus ended restoration hopes. Around 496 before the Common Era, Tarquinius's Latin allies fought Rome. Roman victory eliminated monarchical threats. Tarquinius died in exile at Cumae. The Etruscan king's legacy profoundly shaped Rome. They transformed a small settlement into a significant city. They introduced urban planning. They established religious institutions. They created political structures. They brought Rome into wider Mediterranean networks. Archaeological evidence confirms Etruscan influence. 6th century Rome shows dramatic development. Monumental architecture appears. Imported goods increase. Urban infrastructure develops. These changes coincide with traditional dates for Etruscan kings. Architecture especially shows Etruscan impact. Temple designs followed Etruscan models. Drainage systems used Etruscan engineering. Houses adopted Etruscan plans. Fortifications employed Etruscan techniques. Rome's physical appearance became Etruscanized. Religious practices absorbed Etruscan elements permanently. Divination techniques came from Etruria. Priestly colleges followed Etruscan precedents. Ceremonies incorporated Etruscan rituals. Gods received Etruscan attributes. Roman religion became Romano-Etruscan synthesis. Political institutions retained Etruscan features. Magisterial regalia derived from royal symbols. Triumph ceremonies followed Etruscan patterns. Senate procedures reflected Etruscan influences. Republican offices evolved from monarchical precedents. The relationship between Etruscans and Romans transformed from cooperation to conflict after the monarchy's end. The new Roman Republic viewed Etruscan cities as threats. Etruscan attempts to restore Tarquinius, Superbus poisoned relations. Centuries of warfare followed, ending with Etruscan absorption into Rome. Initial conflicts focused on Veii. This powerful Etruscan city stood merely 10 miles from Rome. The two cities competed for control of the lower Tiber Valley. Salt beds at the river's mouth provided additional motivation. Geographic proximity made conflict inevitable. The first recorded war occurred around 483 before the Common Era. Fighting continued intermittently for years. The Fabian clan undertook defending Rome's frontier. They established a fortified post on the Cremera River. This private war demonstrated aristocratic military traditions. Disaster struck the Phoebe in 477 before the Common Era. Veientine forces ambushed them at the Cremera. 306 Phoebe died. Only one youth survived to continue the line. This catastrophe shocked Rome profoundly. Fidene complicated Roman-Veientine relations. This Latin town controlled a Tiber crossing. It shifted allegiance between Rome and Veii repeatedly. Its strategic position made it valuable. Control of Fidene influenced regional power balance. Lars Tolumnius, Veii's king, escalated conflict around 437 before the Common Era. He allegedly ordered Roman ambassadors murdered. This violation of diplomatic immunity outraged Rome. War resumed with increased bitterness. The Romans appointed Aulus Cornelius Cossus as military tribune. He challenged Lars Tolumnius to single combat. Cossus killed the Veientine king. He dedicated the Spolia Opima, armour stripped from an enemy commander. This honour had been won only once before. Temporary peace followed Tolumnius's death. Both cities faced other threats. Veii fought neighbouring Etruscan cities. Rome battled Aequi and Volsci. These distractions provided respite from mutual conflict. The final war against Veii began around 406 before the Common Era. Rome determined to eliminate this threat permanently. The conflict lasted 10 years. It tested Roman resources and determination. Victory transformed Rome's position in central Italy. Marcus Furius Camillus led Roman forces. He introduced regular pay for soldiers. This innovation enabled year-round campaigning. Previously, seasonal warfare limited operations. Continuous pressure weakened Veii's resistance. The siege of Veii demonstrated Roman persistence. Romans built circumvallation works. They prevented supplies reaching the city. They repelled relief attempts. They maintained the blockade through winters. This determination exceeded previous efforts. Legend claims Romans captured Veii through a tunnel. Soldiers supposedly emerged in Juno's temple. They seized the citadel from within. Historical truth probably involved less drama. Starvation and assault likely combined. Veii fell in 396 before the Common Era. Romans sold the population into slavery. They distributed Veientine territory among Roman citizens. They transferred Juno's cult statue to Rome. The city's destruction eliminated a major rival. Other Etruscan cities failed to assist Veii effectively. Internal conflicts divided Etruria. Some cities resented Veii's power. Others faced their own threats. This disunity proved fatal for Etruscan independence. Tarquini intermittently fought Rome. Wars occurred in 358 and 351 before the Common Era. Romans ravaged Tarquinian territory. They defeated Etruscan armies. They imposed truces. Neither side achieved decisive victory. Falerii and Capena allied with Veii. These smaller cities shared Veii's fate partially. Romans conquered them after Veii's fall. They lost territory but maintained nominal independence. Their submission demonstrated Rome's growing power. The Gallic invasion of 390 before the Common Era temporarily reversed Roman expansion. Brennus's Celts defeated Romans at the Allia River. They sacked Rome itself. They withdrew after receiving ransom. This disaster nearly destroyed Rome. Some Etruscan cities exploited Rome's weakness. They raided Roman territory. They recovered lost lands. They asserted independence. Yet they couldn't coordinate effective resistance. Opportunity passed unexploited. Roman recovery proved remarkably swift. Camillus reorganized Roman forces. He defeated various enemies. He restored Roman prestige. Within decades, Rome resumed expansion. Etruscan cities faced renewed pressure. Tarquini led Etruscan resistance during the 4th century. The city fought Rome repeatedly. Wars occurred in 358, 351, and 308 before the Common Era. Tarquinian territory shrank steadily. The city's power declined progressively. The year 311 before the Common Era brought widespread conflict. Multiple Etruscan cities united against Rome. This rare cooperation threatened Roman dominance. The alliance included important cities. Unity might have changed history, yet coordination proved impossible. Each city pursued individual interests. Combined operations failed. Romans defeated opponents separately. The alliance collapsed quickly. Etruscan disunity again proved fatal. Sutrium and Nepete became Roman colonies. These towns controlled routes into Etruria. Roman colonists secured strategic positions. They provided bases for further expansion. They separated Etruscan cities from potential allies. The Third Samnite War involved Etruscan participation. From 298 to 290 before the Common Era, various Italian peoples fought Rome. Etruscans, Samnites, Umbrians, and Gauls allied. This coalition potentially could defeat Rome. The Battle of Sentinum in 295 before the Common Era proved decisive. Romans faced the allied army. Desperate fighting ensued. Roman discipline prevailed. The coalition's defeat doomed Italian independence. Individual Etruscan cities surrendered progressively. Rusella fell in 294 before the Common Era. Volsini submitted in 280. Vulci capitulated in 280. Each surrender weakened remaining resistance. Roman treatment of conquered cities varied. Some received favourable terms, others faced harsh conditions. Serviteri obtained citizenship without voting rights. Other cities lost substantial territory. Treatment depended on resistance levels. Greek colonies in southern Italy also pressured Etruscans. Cumae defeated Etruscan expansion southward. Syracuse's navy challenged Etruscan maritime power. Greek culture influenced but also competed with Etruscan civilization. The Battle of Cumae in 474 before the Common Era marked a turning point. Hieron of Syracuse aided Cumae against Etruscan attack. The Allied fleet destroyed Etruscan naval forces. This defeat ended Etruscan expansion into Campania. Greek colonization of southern Italy created Magna Graecia. These cities brought Hellenic culture to Italy. They competed with Etruscans for trade. They influenced Italian development profoundly. They provided alternatives to Etruscan models. Cultural exchange accompanied conflict. Greeks adopted Etruscan practices. Etruscans borrowed Greek innovations. Art, architecture, and religion showed mutual influence. Warfare couldn't prevent cultural interaction. Pyrrhus of Epirus briefly united Italian Greeks against Rome. From 280 to 275 before the Common Era, he campaigned in Italy. Some Etruscans supported him. His initial victories raised hopes. His ultimate failure sealed Italian subjugation. The final Etruscan revolt occurred at Volsini. In 264 before the Common Era, social conflict racked the city. Aristocrats appealed to Rome for intervention. Romans destroyed Old Volsini. They relocated survivors to a new site. By 260 before the Common Era, Etruscan independence had ended. All cities acknowledged Roman supremacy. They provided troops for Roman armies. They paid taxes or tribute. Political autonomy disappeared, though cultural identity persisted. The process of Etruscan decline extended over centuries. Military defeats weakened political independence. Economic competition reduced prosperity. Social changes undermined traditional structures. Cultural assimilation eroded distinct identity. Yet this transformation occurred gradually, with Etruscan influence shaping Rome even as Etruria disappeared. Political subordination began with individual cities. Each Etruscan centre negotiated separate terms with Rome. Some retained nominal independence longer. Others lost autonomy quickly. No unified resistance emerged. Cities fell piecemeal to Roman expansion. Different cities received varying treatment. Serviteri obtained favourable terms early. The city received Roman citizenship without voting rights. This special status, civitas sine suffragio, provided protection. Serviteri maintained prosperity through cooperation. Tarquini resisted longer but eventually submitted. The city lost much territory. Roman colonies surrounded it. Trade routes fell under Roman control. Economic strangulation forced accommodation. Vei's destruction provided an extreme example. The city ceased existing for centuries. Its territory became Roman directly. Roman citizens received land allotments. Only much later did settlement resume. Some cities maintained formal independence while accepting Roman hegemony. They provided troops when demanded. They followed Roman foreign policy. They retained local government. This autonomy proved largely illusory. Roman colonization accelerated integration. Latin colonies appeared throughout Etruria. Cosa dominated the coast. Heber controlled mining regions. These settlements spread Roman culture. They monitored Etruscan communities. Military service in Roman armies exposed Etruscans to Roman ways. Etruscan contingents fought alongside Romans. They campaigned far from home. They learned Latin language. They absorbed Roman customs. Veterans returned partially Romanized. Economic integration proceeded steadily. Roman merchants penetrated Etruscan markets. Roman currency circulated widely. Trade patterns shifted toward Rome. Economic dependence reinforced political subordination. Agricultural changes transformed the countryside. Large estates replaced small farms. Slave labor increased. Traditional farming declined. Rural populations migrated to cities. Ancient patterns disappeared. Mining continued, but under Roman control. Metal resources enriched Rome. Local communities lost mineral rights. Profits flowed to Roman investors. Economic exploitation intensified. Craft production persisted with modifications. Etruscan workshops continued operating. They adapted to Roman tastes. They produced for Roman markets. Traditional techniques survived, but purposes changed. The social war of 91 to 88 before the Common Era marked a watershed. Italian allies demanded Roman citizenship. Etruscans joined the revolt initially. Roman concessions ended resistance. Citizenship extended throughout Italy. Full citizenship transformed Etruscan status. Legal equality replaced subordination. Etruscans could hold Roman offices. They participated in Roman politics. Integration accelerated dramatically. Yet citizenship meant cultural pressure. Roman law superseded local customs. Latin language gained prominence. Roman education spread. Traditional practices faced challenges. Sulla's prescriptions devastated Etruscan aristocracies. The dictator punished enemies harshly. Etruscan elites who opposed him suffered. Confiscations destroyed wealthy families. Traditional leadership disappeared. New Roman colonies followed Sulla's victory. Veterans received Etruscan lands. Arretium, Volaterrae, and other cities hosted colonists. These settlements accelerated Romanization. Local populations became minorities. Language shift occurred gradually but inexorably. Official business required Latin. Commercial transactions used Latin. Education emphasized Latin. Etruscan became marginalized. Generational change accelerated linguistic transformation. Children learned Latin in schools. They sought advancement through Roman connections. They abandoned ancestral language. Parents couldn't transmit traditions effectively. By Augustus's reign, Etruscan barely survived. Only priests and antiquarians maintained knowledge. Rural areas possibly preserved fragments. Urban centers had Latinized. The language approached extinction. Religious persistence outlasted political independence. Etruscan divination remained valued. Roman state consulted haruspices. Sacred books retained authority. Religious expertise provided continued relevance. The Emperor Claudius studied Etruscan civilization. He wrote 20 books on Etruscan history. He learned the language. He consulted Etruscan priests. His interest provided temporary revival. Claudius established a college of haruspices. He formalized Etruscan religious roles. He preserved traditional knowledge. He integrated Etruscan religion into Roman practice. This institutionalization ensured survival, yet even religious traditions evolved. Roman interpretations modified practices. Syncretic deities emerged. Pure Etruscan religion disappeared. Romano-Etruscan fusion replaced ancient traditions. Art showed similar transformation. Etruscan styles influenced Roman art, yet distinct Etruscan art ceased. Artists worked in Roman modes. Local traditions merged into imperial culture. Tomb painting declined and ended. The great tradition of decorated tombs stopped. Later burials followed Roman customs. Painted narratives disappeared. This change marked cultural transformation. Architecture lost distinctive features. Etruscan temple designs influenced Roman architecture, yet new temples followed Roman plans. Traditional building techniques vanished. Architectural identity dissolved. Urban landscapes transformed. Roman buildings replaced Etruscan structures. Forums superseded traditional gathering places. Roman amenities appeared. Cities became physically Romanized. Social structures adapted to Roman patterns. Traditional Etruscan aristocracies integrated into Roman elite. They adopted Roman names. They pursued Roman careers. They became indistinguishable from Romans. The Etruscan matronymic system disappeared. Roman patriarchal naming prevailed. Women's status possibly declined. Family structures conformed to Roman models. Social distinctiveness eroded. Dress and appearance Romanized. The toga replaced the tabena. Roman hairstyles predominated. Etruscan jewelry styles vanished. Visual markers of ethnicity disappeared. Banquet customs showed continuity and change. Elaborate dining continued. Yet Roman practices modified traditions. Mixed customs emerged. Pure Etruscan banquets ended. Memory of Etruscan identity persisted locally. Some families maintained ancestry pride. Local traditions survived fragmentarily. Regional characteristics endured. Complete erasure proved impossible. Roman authors preserved Etruscan information. Livy described Etruscan history. Varro discussed Etruscan religion. Pliny mentioned Etruscan art. These accounts provide crucial evidence. Archaeological evidence shows Romanization's progression. 1st century before the Common Era sites show mixed culture. Imperial period sites appear thoroughly Roman. Material culture demonstrates transformation. Inscriptions trace linguistic change. Early texts remain bilingual. Later inscriptions use only Latin. Final Etruscan inscriptions date to early imperial period. Written Etruscan ceased. Christianity completed cultural transformation. Pagan traditions lost support. Etruscan religious specialists disappeared. Christian burial replaced traditional practices. Ancient beliefs vanished. By the 3rd century Common Era, Etruscan identity had essentially disappeared. The region was simply part of Italy. Inhabitants considered themselves Roman. Distinctive culture survived only in antiquarian memory. Modern Tuscany preserves Etruscan legacy subtly. Place names recall Etruscan origins. Archaeological sites attract visitors. Museums display Etruscan treasures, yet living culture vanished long ago. The Etruscan contribution to Roman and Western civilization proved enormous. Political institutions, religious practices, architectural techniques, and cultural customs showed Etruscan influence. Rome conquered Etruria militarily but absorbed it culturally. Engineering knowledge transformed Roman capabilities. Arch construction enabled monumental architecture. Drainage techniques allowed urban development. Surveying methods facilitated planning. Etruscan expertise became Roman achievement. Religious divination shaped Roman decision-making. Consultation of omens preceded major undertakings. Haruspices advised emperors. Etruscan religious thought influenced Roman mentality. Sacred knowledge retained importance. Artistic traditions enriched Roman culture. Portraiture possibly derived from Etruscan practice. Tomb painting influenced Roman decoration. Bronze working techniques persisted. Aesthetic contributions endured. Urban planning concepts guided Roman development. Regular street grids organized cities. Sacred boundaries defined space. Public and private zones separated. Etruscan ideas structured Roman cities. The gladiatorial games possibly originated in Etruscan funeral rites. These spectacles became quintessentially Roman. Yet Etruscan tomb paintings show armed combat at funerals. Cultural transmission transformed meaning. Musical traditions influenced Roman practice. Etruscan musicians accompanied Roman ceremonies. Instruments and techniques spread. Musical culture enriched Roman life. Sonic heritage persisted. The Roman triumph ceremony showed Etruscan origins. Victory processions followed Etruscan precedents. Regalia derived from Etruscan royal symbols. Religious elements reflected Etruscan concepts. Rome's greatest ceremony honored Etruscan heritage. Legal concepts possibly showed Etruscan influence. Property rights and contracts might reflect Etruscan practice. Women's legal status possibly derived from Etruscan precedent. Legal heritage remains debated but plausible. The Etruscan legacy extended beyond direct influence. Their civilization demonstrated Italian potential for sophisticated culture. They proved Mediterranean civilization could flourish beyond Greece. They created models for cultural synthesis. The relationship between Greek and Etruscan culture provided paradigms. Selective adoption and adaptation characterized both civilizations. Creative synthesis produced new forms. Cultural interaction enriched both traditions. Etruscan mediation brought Greek culture to Rome. Without Etruscan transmission, Roman Hellenization might have differed. Etruscans filtered and interpreted Greek influence. They provided models for cultural borrowing. The Etruscan example showed that distinct civilizations could emerge in Italy. Regional cultures developed unique characteristics. Local traditions proved viable. Diversity enriched Italian peninsula. Yet Etruscan fate also provided warnings. Political disunity enabled conquest. Failure to coordinate resistance proved fatal. City-state particularism prevented effective defense. Unity might have preserved independence. Economic dependence accelerated cultural absorption. Trade integration preceded political conquest. Commercial networks became channels for cultural influence. Economic and cultural spheres intertwined. Social flexibility possibly facilitated assimilation. Etruscan society adapted to changing circumstances. Integration with Rome occurred relatively smoothly. Violent resistance remained limited. Pragmatism enabled survival through transformation. The gradual nature of decline cushioned trauma. Centuries-long process allowed adjustment. Each generation experienced incremental change rather than catastrophic disruption. Families adapted slowly to new realities. Communities maintained continuity despite transformation. This extended timeline made cultural death less violent but no less complete. Memory of the Etruscans faded gradually from lived experience. Grandparents told stories of old customs. Parents remembered fragments. Children knew only Roman ways. Within 3 generations, direct knowledge vanished. Only texts and monuments preserved their civilization. The Renaissance brought renewed interest in Etruscan antiquity. Tuscan scholars sought regional heritage. Excavations uncovered tombs. Artifacts emerged from soil. Local pride embraced ancient predecessors. Yet understanding remained limited. Early excavators sought treasures rather than knowledge. Tomb robbers plundered sites. Collectors acquired objects without context. Museums filled with decontextualized artifacts. Scientific archaeology arrived late. The discovery of intact tombs revolutionized understanding. The Regolini Galassi tomb at Cerveteri astounded observers. The Francois tomb at Volci preserved historical paintings. These finds revealed Etruscan sophistication. They challenged assumptions about barbarous predecessors. 19th-century nationalism embraced Etruscan heritage. Italian unification sought historical precedents. Etruscans represented indigenous Italian civilization. They provided alternatives to Roman models. Regional identity claimed ancient roots. Modern archaeology applies scientific methods. Systematic excavation preserves context. Laboratory analysis reveals manufacturing techniques. Digital technology documents fragile remains. Understanding deepens constantly. DNA studies illuminate Etruscan origins. Genetic analysis suggests local development. Migration theories lose support. Continuity with earlier populations appears likely. Science clarifies ancient debates. Linguistic research continues advancing slowly. Computer analysis reveals patterns. Statistical methods identify relationships. New inscriptions occasionally surface. Progress remains incremental but real. Conservation challenges threaten Etruscan heritage. Tomb paintings deteriorate from exposure. Urban development destroys sites. Looting continues despite laws. Climate change accelerates decay. Preservation requires constant vigilance. Tourism brings both benefits and problems. Visitors generate revenue for conservation, yet heavy traffic damages fragile sites. Balancing access with preservation proves difficult. Sustainable tourism remains elusive. Museums worldwide display Etruscan artifacts. The Villa Giulia in Rome houses major collections. The Archaeological Museum in Florence preserves regional finds. International exhibitions spread awareness. Yet many objects remain separated from contexts. Repatriation debates affect Etruscan artifacts. Italy seeks return of looted objects. Museums resist returning acquisitions. Legal battles continue. Cultural heritage rights evolve. Popular culture occasionally features Etruscans. Historical novels imagine their world. Documentary films explore their civilization. Yet they remain overshadowed by Rome. Public awareness stays limited. Academic study continues revealing new aspects. Interdisciplinary approaches provide insights. Technology enables new analysis methods. International collaboration advances research. Knowledge accumulates steadily. The Etruscans remind us that civilizations can vanish completely. Political conquest begins the process. Economic integration accelerates it. Cultural assimilation completes it. Language death seals the transformation. Within centuries, distinct peoples can disappear entirely. Yet influence persists beyond cultural death. Etruscan contributions enriched successor civilizations. Their innovations spread throughout Mediterranean. Their examples inspired others. Death didn't mean complete erasure. The Etruscan experience parallels other vanished civilizations. Carthaginians, Gauls, and Iberians underwent similar fates. Roman expansion eliminated diverse cultures. Homogenization followed conquest. Diversity decreased. Modern parallels exist globally. Indigenous languages disappear yearly. Traditional cultures face pressure. Globalization threatens diversity. The Etruscan experience resonates today. Lessons emerge from Etruscan history. Political unity matters for survival. Economic independence provides resilience. Cultural confidence resists assimilation. Language preservation maintains identity. These insights remain relevant. The Etruscans also demonstrate civilization's fragility. Centuries of achievement can vanish. Power and prosperity provide no guarantees. External pressure and internal division prove fatal. Success doesn't ensure permanence. Their story shows how conquerors absorb conquered. Rome became partially Etruscan, while Etruria became Roman. Cultural exchange flows both directions. Victors transform through victory. Pure cultures rarely exist. The incomplete nature of our knowledge frustrates and fascinates. Most Etruscan literature vanished. Their own historical accounts disappeared. We see them through others' eyes. Direct voices remain rare. This fragmentary record requires careful interpretation. Archaeological evidence provides clues. Artistic representations suggest beliefs. Inscriptions offer glimpses. Complete understanding remains impossible. Yet enough survives to appreciate their achievements. Etruscan civilization deserves recognition. They created sophisticated urban culture. They influenced Rome profoundly. They contributed to Western civilization's development. The Etruscans built cities that lasted millennia. Orvieto, Arezzo, and others continue thriving. Ancient foundations support modern life. Urban continuity connects past and present. Their city planning influences today. They developed technologies Rome spread empire-wide. Arch construction enabled aqueducts and bridges. Drainage techniques allowed urban growth. Surveying methods facilitated expansion. Engineering expertise proved foundational. Their maritime skills opened Mediterranean trade. Navigation knowledge spread. Shipbuilding techniques influenced others. Commercial practices established precedents. Economic innovations had lasting impact. Etruscan women's status provided alternative models. Their public participation challenged restrictions. Their economic rights suggested possibilities. Their social freedom influenced debate. Gender relations showed variety existed. Religious practices shaped Western divination. Reading omens influenced decision-making. Interpreting signs became systematized. Sacred knowledge gained respect. Divination traditions persisted centuries. Artistic traditions enriched Mediterranean culture. Bronze-working techniques spread widely. Painting styles influenced others. Sculptural approaches inspired imitation. Aesthetic contributions endured. The Etruscan alphabet's adaptation spread literacy. Their modification of Greek letters succeeded. Latin alphabet derived from Etruscan version. Writing systems descended from their innovation. Literacy's spread owes them debt. Their political experiments provided lessons. City-state organization showed strengths and weaknesses. Federal cooperation remained elusive. Balance between unity and autonomy challenged them. Political structures influenced successors. Etruscan banquets established social traditions. Elaborate dining became status display. Mixed-gender socializing challenged norms. Entertainment accompanied meals. Convivial customs spread. Their tomb architecture created eternal dwellings. Rock-cut chambers preserved decorations. Painted scenes documented life. Burial practices revealed beliefs. Death culture influenced others. Music and dance enriched cultural life. Professional performers gained respect. Religious ceremonies required music. Social occasions featured entertainment. Performance traditions influenced Rome. Etruscan mirrors reflected more than faces. Engraved scenes preserved mythology. Artistic styles documented fashion. Personal objects revealed daily life. Material culture survived through buried goods. Their jewelry demonstrated technological mastery. Granulation techniques amazed observers. Filigree work showed delicate skill. Decorative arts achieved high levels. Craftsmanship established standards. Textile production, though rarely preserved, influenced fashion. The tabena preceded the toga. Colourful garments expressed status. Clothing styles spread. Dress traditions evolved. Etruscan games and sports provided entertainment models. Chariot racing thrilled crowds. Athletic competitions honoured gods. Gladiatorial combat possibly originated there. Spectacle traditions began. Their libraries, though lost, preserved knowledge. Religious texts codified practices. Historical accounts recorded events. Literary works possibly existed. Written culture developed early. Medicine combined practical and spiritual approaches. Anatomical knowledge aided treatment. Herbal remedies addressed ailments. Divine healing supplemented human efforts. Medical traditions influenced others. The Etruscan calendar organized time. Religious festivals marked seasons. Market days structured weeks. Agricultural cycles guided activity. Temporal organization influenced Rome. Their federal sanctuary united cities religiously. Annual gatherings reinforced identity. Shared rituals created bonds. Religious unity transcended politics. Sacred spaces connected communities. Etruscan roads connected cities and regions. Engineering skills created durable routes. Commercial needs drove construction. Military requirements influenced design. Transportation infrastructure facilitated development. Their agricultural techniques supported dense populations. Drainage projects reclaimed land. Irrigation systems watered crops. Terracing expanded cultivation. Food production methods spread. Mining expertise extracted valuable resources. Deep shafts reached ore deposits. Processing techniques refined metals. Organization managed complex operations. Extractive knowledge proved valuable. Craft specialization increased efficiency. Potters perfected techniques. Metalworkers developed skills. Painters created styles. Specialized production influenced economics. Trade networks connected distant regions. Maritime routes crossed seas. Land paths traversed mountains. Commercial relationships created wealth. Exchange systems established patterns. Diplomatic practices managed international relations. Treaties regulated interactions. Alliances provided security. Negotiations resolved conflicts. International relations developed sophistication. The Etruscan legacy lives in unexpected places. Italian cuisine possibly preserves food traditions. Regional customs might echo ancient practices. Folk beliefs could contain old elements. Cultural DNA persists mysteriously. Place names across Tuscany recall Etruscan presence. Rivers, mountains, and towns bear ancient names. Linguistic fossils dot landscapes. Geographic memory preserves them. Maps document their world. Modern Tuscans feel connection to Etruscan ancestors. Regional pride claims heritage. Tourist industries promote connections. Identity narratives include them. Contemporary life acknowledges past. Archaeological parks preserve Etruscan sites. Cerveteri's necropolis welcomes visitors. Tarquinia's painted tombs amaze observers. Vulci's ruins evoke past glory. Physical remains enable encounters. Museums interpret Etruscan civilization. Displays contextualize objects. Educational programs spread knowledge. Research continues advancing. Public engagement grows. Academic conferences share discoveries. Scholars debate interpretations. New findings challenge assumptions. International cooperation advances understanding. Knowledge communities form. Publications disseminate research. Journal articles detail discoveries. Books synthesize knowledge. Digital resources provide access. Information spreads globally. Technology revolutionizes Etruscan studies. Ground-penetrating radar locates tombs. Multispectral imaging reveals faded paintings. DNA analysis clarifies origins. Digital reconstruction visualizes cities. Modern tools unlock ancient secrets. Virtual reality enables immersive experiences. Visitors explore reconstructed spaces. Students examine artifacts closely. Researchers collaborate remotely. Technology democratizes access. Climate change threatens Etruscan heritage. Rising temperatures accelerate decay. Increased rainfall erodes sites. Extreme weather damages structures. Conservation faces new challenges. The Etruscans speak to contemporary concerns. Cultural diversity's value becomes clear. Political unity's importance appears obvious. Economic integration's effects seem familiar. Historical parallels provide perspective. Their example warns against complacency. Success doesn't guarantee survival. Internal divisions weaken resistance. External pressures test resilience. Vigilance remains necessary. Yet their achievements inspire admiration. Creating sophisticated civilization impresses. Influencing mighty Rome amazes. Contributing to Western culture matters. Historical significance endures. The mystery surrounding them captivates imagination. Lost literature tantalizes scholars. Undeciphered aspects frustrate researchers. Hidden tombs await discovery. Enigmas persist. Each excavation potentially transforms understanding. New tombs might preserve texts. Unexpected finds could clarify mysteries. Future discoveries promise revelations. Hope continues. The Etruscans remind us of history's complexity. Simple narratives prove inadequate. Multiple perspectives enrich understanding. Nuance matters. Complexity requires acknowledgement. Their story interweaves with others. Greek colonists, Latin neighbours, Celtic migrants, Roman conquerors all participated. Isolated history proves impossible. Interconnections define experience. Understanding Etruscans illuminates Rome. Roman culture's composite nature becomes clear. Imperial successes' foundations appear. Classical civilization's diversity emerges. Context enriches comprehension. The Etruscan experience transcends ancient history. Universal themes emerge. Power dynamics recur. Cultural processes repeat. Human patterns persist. Their civilization achieved remarkable accomplishments. Cities flourished for centuries. Art and architecture impressed contemporaries. Trade networks spanned seas. Religious knowledge influenced successors. Political sophistication developed early. Urban planning showed foresight. Social organization proved complex. International relations demonstrated skill. Governance structures influenced others. Economic prosperity supported cultural flowering. Resource exploitation generated wealth. Manufacturing added value. Trade multiplied profits. Prosperity enabled achievements. Cultural confidence radiated outward. Artistic traditions developed distinctively. Religious practices maintained independence. Social customs resisted homogenization. Identity remained strong. Military power protected independence temporarily. Naval dominance controlled seas. Fortifications defended cities. Armies contested enemies. Force maintained autonomy. Yet internal divisions proved fatal. City-state rivalry prevented unity. Competition weakened resistance. Coordination failed repeatedly. Fragmentation enabled conquest. The slow transformation from Etruscan to Roman took centuries. Each generation experienced small changes. Accumulated alterations transformed society. Gradual change avoided trauma. Complete transformation resulted nonetheless. Language death sealed cultural extinction. Without linguistic continuity, traditions withered. Memory faded, identity dissolved, silence fell. The Etruscans vanished as a distinct people. Political independence ended. Economic autonomy disappeared. Cultural uniqueness eroded. Linguistic identity died. Complete absorption occurred. Yet shadows remain. Archaeological sites preserve physical remains. Museum collections display artifacts. Inscriptions provide glimpses. Artistic works survive. Material culture endures. Influence persists indirectly. Roman civilization carried Etruscan elements. Western culture inherited contributions. Unconscious transmission occurred. Deep structures continued. The Etruscans earned historical significance. They created sophisticated civilization. They influenced Rome profoundly. They enriched Mediterranean culture. They deserve remembrance. Their story warns and inspires. Civilizations can achieve greatness. They can also disappear completely. Success requires vigilance. Preservation demands effort. Modern Tuscany honors Etruscan heritage. Archaeological sites attract millions. Museums showcase treasures. Scholars continue research. Public interest grows. The Etruscan mystery continues attracting attention. Popular books explore their world. Documentaries examine evidence. Fiction imagines their lives. Fascination persists. Academic research advances steadily. New methodologies provide insights. International collaboration increases. Interdisciplinary approaches succeed. Understanding deepens. Future discoveries await. Unexcavated sites hold secrets. New technologies promise revelations. Patient work continues. Hope remains. The Etruscans refuse complete erasure. Physical remains survive. Cultural influences persist. Memory endures. Death proved incomplete. Their legacy enriches human heritage. Artistic achievements inspire. Engineering accomplishments impress. Political experiments inform. Religious innovations influence. Understanding Etruscans enhances historical comprehension. Mediterranean complexity appears. Cultural interactions' importance emerges. Civilization's fragility becomes clear. Historical processes reveal patterns. The Etruscan story continues unfolding. Each discovery adds details. Every interpretation evolves. New generations ask different questions. Understanding transforms. Preservation requires constant effort. Sites need protection. Artifacts demand conservation, knowledge requires transmission, memory needs cultivation. The Etruscans remind us that every civilization remains vulnerable. External threats challenge survival. Internal divisions weaken resistance. Cultural confidence matters. Language preservation proves crucial. Their example demonstrates cultural resilience and fragility simultaneously. Centuries of achievement created lasting influence. Political conquest couldn't erase contributions, yet distinct identity vanished. Influence outlasted independence. The incomplete record frustrates and fascinates. Most evidence disappeared. Fragments suggest grandeur. Imagination fills gaps. Mystery enhances appeal. Enough survives to appreciate their accomplishments. Cities, art, and artifacts testify to sophistication. Historical influence appears undeniable. Cultural significance remains clear. Recognition seems justified. The Etruscans occupy a unique position in ancient history. They bridged prehistoric and historic Italy. They connected Greek and Roman worlds. They mediated between Mediterranean and continental Europe. They facilitated cultural transmission. Their story forms an essential chapter in Western civilization's development. Without Etruscan contributions, Rome might have developed differently. Without their mediation, Greek influence might have spread differently. Without their example, Italian civilization might have emerged differently. The Etruscan experience offers timeless lessons. Unity strengthens resistance. Diversity enriches culture. Prosperity requires security. Identity needs preservation. History teaches through example. As we conclude this journey through Etruscan history, we see a civilization that rose from prehistoric origins to create sophisticated urban culture. They built magnificent cities. They produced beautiful art. They developed complex societies. They influenced neighbors profoundly. The Etruscans controlled much of central Italy for centuries. Their naval power dominated western Mediterranean waters. Their commercial networks reached from Spain to the Levant. Their cultural influence extended even further. Yet they couldn't maintain unity when facing Roman expansion. City-state particularism prevented effective resistance. Military defeats accumulated. Territory shrank progressively. Independence ended. Romanization transformed Etruscan lands and peoples. Latin replaced Etruscan language. Roman customs superseded local traditions. Imperial culture absorbed regional distinctiveness. Complete assimilation occurred. Still, Etruscan contributions enriched Roman and Western civilization permanently. Architecture, engineering, religion, politics, and art showed their influence. Through Rome, their legacy spread across Europe and beyond. Today, archaeology continues revealing their achievements. Museums preserve their treasures. Scholars study their civilization. Tourists visit their sites. Interest continues growing. The Etruscans prove that vanished civilizations can still speak to us. Through patient archaeological work, careful scholarly analysis, and respectful preservation, we can partially recover lost worlds. Their voice, though muted, hasn't been completely silenced. Every tomb excavated, every inscription translated, every artifact analyzed adds to our understanding. The picture remains incomplete. Many mysteries persist, but knowledge accumulates steadily. The Etruscan story reminds us of our own mortality as civilizations. No culture lasts forever. All face challenges. Success today doesn't guarantee tomorrow's survival. Humility seems appropriate, yet their example also inspires. From small beginnings, they created remarkable civilization. They left indelible marks on history. They influenced the future profoundly. Achievement remains possible. As modern Tuscany thrives where Etruria once flourished, continuity links past and present. Cities they founded continue prospering. Lands they cultivated remain productive. Routes they established still carry traffic. Deep connections persist. The Etruscans deserve our attention and respect. They created one of antiquity's great civilizations. They contributed significantly to Western cultural development. They left legacies that endure today. Their story of rise and decline, achievement and disappearance, influence and extinction provides profound historical lessons. It demonstrates civilization's possibilities and vulnerabilities. It shows how cultures interact, influence, and transform each other. In studying the Etruscans, we study ourselves. We see patterns that recur throughout history. We recognize challenges that remain relevant. We appreciate achievements that inspire. We acknowledge losses that sadden. The entire history of the Etruscans encompasses nearly a millennium of documented existence, a millennium more of influence. From Villanovan origins through Roman absorption, they experienced the full cycle of civilization. Their journey from obscurity through greatness to extinction provides one of history's most complete examples of cultural transformation.